Alright, hello everyone, and welcome back to our very weird Let's Play with the US with slavery as a council republic. I'm genuinely weirded out by what we've done so far, but we're only about a little over halfway through the game, and we're going to try to get well past the 1900s before this ends. Now, we are almost out of infamy, and I kind of want to just immediately just skip to it. We can technically annex Mexico, but that makes us a pariah, so that's not happening. But we could just make the rest of it a protectorate. I kind of want to annex it at some point, but, you know, protectorate status works. I was poking around the save file and did notice that apparently the wheat farms in California have just been building themselves up, and this is kind of where almost about a fourth to a fifth of our wheat production comes from. So, good on them. There's a reason why we haven't starved in some time. I've also noticed that we have a fair number of slaves in certain regions in the South especially. That's not too surprising. That has a lot at the start at North Carolina. So we may actually need to better develop these provinces, because apparently they have a lot of work to do still. Or at least you can produce a lot more with them. Also, our budget is just forever negative at this point because the interest rate is high and our tax system is weird because you can't tax 7% of the population since they're being owned as property according to our laws. It's none of this is stable. We're also, you may notice, at July 1st instead of whatever part of July we ended off of because I forgot to save after we finished. But I noticed in time before the autosave could be overwritten. So, we are going to go ahead and finish off Mexico's independence, which is sad for Mexico. Sorry, Mexico. I don't mean to. I do mean to, but I don't mean to. I've also noticed that the Philippines owns this part of Spain because Britain gave it to them because they technically have the Spanish primary culture. And as a result, they've just kind of handed that over to them. We're also still getting mass migrations from Europe, which is nice, and I think we're just going to let the quote-unquote private investment pool kind of eat into a few million reserve points here just to bring down the the debt issue slightly. We may honestly drop some of our subventions as well. We were doing fine art for a while for fun, but I don't think that is inherently needed at this point. I think we would be better off just not doing that now for subventions. It saves very little. And the real issue is just certain trade centers are very unprofitable right now. The one in Louisiana, for example, has been running a bit of a deficit, and we're also funding its really high wages because everyone else has high standard of living, so it's trying to play catch up with that, and it's not working out. Also, Texas is becoming the center of wine production, which I thought about stopping, but I've decided we are not using our construction. I've decided we're not going to mess with in the end. Also, I actually want to get a bunch of power plants built down here. Just kind of around, both for wood production, but also because we can use it in the tobacco plantations, which will reduce the amount of laborers/slaves and increase production. Because I don't know if you noticed, but tobacco is looking a little pricey right now. Also, when poking around the save file, I couldn't help but notice the logging camps over in Oregon have an awful lot of slave labor in use, which surprised me a little because I wasn't expecting it. Who's stepping down? Thomas Jackson? Sure, why not? An indefinite step down. We actually have 2 more levels of the healthcare system grab. We really should research antibiotics, but we need malaria prevention first, right? So what I'm thinking is we'll grab malaria prevention next for the healthcare, into macroeconomics for the market access in the company. Because the last research for the third era should finish before then. No, I don't want to upset the British, actually. They're already wary with us to begin with. And something else we can do now is upgrade the Arts Academy, which we just stopped subsidizing exports for, but art's expensive anyway, so who cares? I don't. It's already expensive as it is. It's also going to be costly to do this, but we are going to have to fund the power plants until they're on their own feet enough to actually operate independently. Also, we've neglected Florida this entire game. Florida is literally just pretty much just peasants, slaves, and the occasional laborer. Aside from some fish and logging camps, we effectively ignored it, and that wasn't even an I was going to say an accident. That was an accident. I almost said that this was on purpose. We didn't ignore them on purpose, I swear. I'm trying to figure out what's best to build here, though. I guess technically just the oil, but let's max out the fishing wharfs first. And now we have mechanized farming, which is going to allow us to use coal to make even more meat. And technically uses less laborers and slaves for more of the machinists or mechanists, however you wish to pronounce it. But that's fine. How are we looking at now? Because maybe it gets productive enough to where the food industries, well, actually, the food industry company starts buying it. Really tripping over my words today, but we are trying to record at a different time slot to see if that gives me a little more time to actually do these. Or at least give them more time throughout the day. What are we building 53 levels of? Oh, okay. I see. We're just going insane with the automobile industries now. Spain's activated the Iberian Union journal entry. It's also started a civil war with communists in a single state. So I expect the communists will just lose. I'd actually be very surprised if they won. Which, in theory, could technically happen. It's just so unlikely that I wouldn't even consider it. Can actually start using more explosives production. Probably could have done that sooner than when we just turned it on. But, yeah. We didn't do it for a while because we didn't really have the explosives, and then we just kept building new iron mines instead of trying to make those work. But iron should be cheap enough to where that steel mill in Arkansas can actually... There's 100 levels now. They're just going to keep building it. This is what happens when you let them decide their own construction, I guess. They're just going to keep building certain buildings until it's too much. Photographic arts established. We're going to get more fish as well. Hey, DC can actually get something. 6,000 research to film. Root for endorsements for who? The Socialist Party? Oh, wow. The Socialist Party actually almost started just losing outright. What is our political makeup? Laborers, then shopkeepers. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. That's political strength. That's technically a political makeup. Technically, the People's Party, the Yeoman Farmers, we don't want them to lose too much. We actually could let them... I clicked the... I was so busy glancing at the projected votes over here to see the change, I didn't pay attention to where I was mousing over. It's okay. We can just immediately drop their momentum and partially fix it. You know what? This is more fun. I like this result instead, where we've completely destroyed our own political system and makeup for no reason. There isn't even a reason behind it. We've just done it. All we have to really do is kick the evangelicals and the industrialists out, actually, and then it's a righteous government again. This is my new fun thing. The fact that if they're in a party, they're still influential, even though they're below 4%. Now, I kind of like it. It makes it a tad harder to get rid of certain interest groups that would be discontent with you. Why do you think we're at -4 authority? Also, I have come to the realization that as long as we have the slavery debate journal entry, the pro-slavery movement, liberal and abolitions, well, actually the abolition and pro-slavery movements, really, they'll kind of never vanish. They're effectively going to always be around, so I'm just going to stop suppressing one of them. Which, I don't know why they think we have negative authority when we don't. Oh, I saw French ambitions trigger, so they're laying claim to some of their neighbors' territories. We might see a war over that soon. And it looks like Finland's ambitions to unite Scandinavia has completely failed. Brazil against Bolivia. What's happening here? Okay, so Brazil is our protectorate, Venezuela is our protectorate, and they're attacking our puppet. The problem is that we're obligated to come to the defense of... Oh, God. Technically, we could use this as a means of whacking Venezuela down, I guess? I mean, we'll just join unconditionally, because I don't want to give one of the other powers a reason to intervene in this. It could end tragically for us if they do. I don't think this will break the protectorate status over them both, because we're not the main belligerent, but it is also just as possible that it will actually break it, and I'm going to have to be upset about it. But Bolivia was one of our first subjects, and I'm not interested in breaking that. We actually could probably stop funding the motor industries. It's just their average annual wage drops a fair margin when we do. But our interest rates have come down. Oh god, what happened to railway subsidies? Why is it through the roof? Venezuela is actually now beginning a separate war for independence against us. With Brazil involved. Oh, so they just started a war against Bolivia, but they're also immediately starting a war against us as well. That's cute. That's adorable that they think they can win. They're already going to be losing the war before it begins. But it is definitely all the more reason that we should probably make sure our military is ready to fight, because evidently we have... So they want to do regime change in us as well. Excellent. So they've kind of significantly hurt their international reputation. Okay, in that case, I will take the infamy hit. And we're just going to make Venezuela a puppet to weaken it. Russia sides with Venezuela. The cooperative nation. Not what I expected. For what? Investment rights in Peru. That's... There are a million things you could have chosen, and that was your decision. Not that it matters. Brazil is already heavily occupied to begin with, so this is already not going to end well for them. The only issue is that we now technically... Oh, we never upgraded to shrapnel artillery? Oh, that's so funny. So you mean to tell me we got shrapnel artillery a while ago, but we never upgraded the cannon to it? Oops. I suppose we don't really have a lot of room to develop it to begin with either, but that's still pretty funny. Now, they could initially push against us here just because the army has no organization. So we are just going to dig in there. But it should be fine because the Brazilian part of this fight is already down. The only real issue is Russian involvement. I say issue with, like, quotes around it because it's also the Russian army. I don't think they're developed that far. They still have line infantry. They do have shrapnel artillery, but they also have line infantry. So it's like... It's not inherently a troublesome issue in the long run. Okay, so Brazil is effectively occupied. We don't actually have their capital, but I don't think we need their capital. Yeah, as long as they're just regular occupied, it should be fine enough. There is an issue of an incoming naval invasion, I've noticed. Thankfully, one of our subjects actually kind of put some ships out to protect us there, so we're fine. Why are you having hiring issues? I mean, well, there's no one to hire here that would do it. No, wouldn't it? Honestly, what are we at? We're about to be at less than 4 million pop, so let's just flip on the steam donkey for all the mines at this point. And let's go a step further. The textile mills, furniture manufactories, tooling workshops, and paper mills will all get automation. That is going to free up, when it updates here, about 700,000 to 800,000 pops. We also jumped up by 700,000 peasants, so we got about 1.8 million new potential workers from that. Oh, where are the Russians going? Oh, it's a masterful gambit. One of the Central American subjects has simply started a naval invasion that they will die in, and it has successfully distracted half of the Russian army. They're probably overreacting, but it is targeting their capital, which could be why. Oh, wow. I mean, I know we started using a bunch of coal for automation, but I didn't expect coal to jump up so hard. Oh, I guess, yeah, this does technically use several thousand coal because it deletes 3. Then each one of these is 4. Is it really several thousand each? I guess if you include iron mines, yeah. So we're going to destroy our explosives demand then to make more coal. But that's fine, because that's going to help these become really profitable in the long run then. And any destruction to the steel price should be okay now. So, unfortunately, even though Venezuela will be ready to end this war, we're still going to be at war with Brazil and Russia for a time. But I suppose that's just the sacrifices you make for the greater good of things. The greater good being the continuation of our hegemony. Which someone should probably put down because we're enslaving people. But I don't think they're going to win here, so that's not going to happen today. You know, North Carolina has a lot of able-bodied workers in need of employment. Yeah, I'm sure that'll be fine. Ah, oil in Texas. Fantastic. Anyway, the Venezuelans are a puppet now, so they aren't able to do as they're not able to do as much. Honestly, what is it? You just want investment rights? I might give that. But I need Brazil to surrender first. Actually, we might not even give that. We don't need the Russian-American company investing into our lovely lands. What are the odds we could... Yeah, no, I figured Britain was going to intervene to protect Belgium if we ever attacked. I just was morbidly curious and had to see. I kind of wish Prussia wasn't antagonistic towards us, because I would like to use their, whatchamacallit, companies. But obviously they don't like us, so that's not happening. Oh, well. Bolivia actually getting big again. And all I had to do was annex the territory of a neighbor. So we've got, what, 5 years to macroeconomics? Assuming nothing changes. Oh, you know what? I wasn't paying attention because of the war, but malaria prevention finished. I was so busy just making sure we'd be okay in the war because I didn't want to just assume we'd be fine and get surprised later and just perish. That I completely forgot. Wow, like this completely lost everyone. I mean, yeah, iron prices came down. That could be why, but I'm just surprised at how many people are gone now. Though I suppose it's more profitable to be in the automotive industry right now. We're exporting 2,000 cars. Half of it's being imported by the British. The Qing are importing almost 600. The Qing are importing cars. Interesting. What else is new in Qing? Well, Qing actually managed to get off traditionalism. I think we previously noted that they got off serfdom, but they've also gotten off traditionalism now, which was probably fairly recent. Oh, see, I don't really want to make the British a rival, though. Look, half the great powers are rivals to us as it is. If we rival the British as well at that point, everyone except France that's a great power will dislike us. Oh, wow, Persia's got territory. Is it a part of the Russian market? Yeah, it's a Russian protectorate. Okay, that makes sense. I was going to say, how did you get so much territory? Well, that would make sense. Oh, Bengal's our rival. I didn't even notice that Bengal had joined this war against us. When did that happen? Are they a Russian subject or something? No, they just joined it for the love of the game, I guess. Like, I guess they just joined it to dunk on us, or well, tried to. It didn't really go the way they probably intended it for it to. Oh yeah, right. We built all the electricity. It's probably about time to actually use it. We're sitting here paying money for something we're not using. That's not good. That's not going to get every tobacco or logging camp, but it's going to get a portion of it over here started. Also, not switching over it all at once might be a good thing in the long run, because now we can see what the price comes out to. I think that got rid of... God, I wish we had exploited rollers as well, just so we could have even more tobacco. I love how it says we'd have less tobacco, because it would have to hire people. But I guess whenever we invent radio +1 standard of living for slaves, wait, what? Wait, so you're telling me I could get these guys to, like, what, 17, 18? That's silly. Anyway, the tobacco plantation should do better, provided the price doesn't collapse, which it looks like it's fine. Engines are going to just be a forever problem, I'm afraid. I always have a problem with engines until we have oil. Technically, we could use the electric variant. I just choose not to. There's nothing wrong with it. I just jump straight to oil for whatever reason. There's multiple revolutions going on, and oh my god, Prussia and Austria at war again over what? Baden? Well, at least they know how to have fun, I guess? Yeah. Oh yeah, I just realized we probably triggered that journal entry for 10 years because we became a council republic. So everyone else got the Red Scare journal entry, which is funny to me. Yeah, they're not happy with that, I'm sure. But it's not our problem, so we don't care. What is our problem is the fact that we're running such a high deficit, but if it continues, we're just going to add more taxes. Honestly, I think we're just going to add a coffee tax anyway. Just to keep funding things. It's that... Why are we paying so much for railway subsidies? We were not paying anywhere near this much at first. What happened? Did they just spam a bunch in one state? Arkansas's got 21, but no. I mean... Oh, you want to know what? I know what it is. It's because we have so many cars now that the transportation costs have collapsed everywhere. And because those have collapsed, it's now extremely cheap to run the railway. By extremely cheap, I mean it's very unprofitable. Please help. So what, I guess South Carolina could just start using rail transportation. It's very expensive because it thinks it's going to be using more engines. Which I don't know if that's true, but technically it's just removing slaves, which are cheaper for it to run. I think it would help the coal mine only because it doesn't have enough people. The iron mine, it would probably help because, again, not enough people. So that is something we could look into to partially fix. Although I'm not sure how far that's going to go. Oh, are we having the issue in California? Where they don't want to... See, their job satisfaction's -33, but they don't want to work on the wheat farm. It just doesn't work for them, apparently. That's just the wonders of the late 1800s to the early 1900s. Why won't my people work? We've got over $1 million reinvestment, despite the fact it's all being run by worker cooperatives. So that's pretty cool. Solidarity deactivated for the trade union. That's actually not cool. I suppose we could probably end the anti-strike laws. That's kind of why they're really upset with us. At this point, we might as well just... Because we're not going to get, like, socialist movements with the labor movements here. We may as well just switch over to the labor movement. Unless... Why are the evangelicals so mad? Timed modifiers, appeasement. Yeah, they're going to be upset. I guess there's corporatized unions is what we could do instead. It makes them more corporatist, though. Well, more likely to be corporatist, but honestly, that's fine. I don't see much of an issue with that one. I guess they're technically a part of the controlled part of the state in a loose sense to begin with. I just don't want to lose our delicious 10% workforce ratio that we've worked hard to acquire. We've given women suffrage, right? We never... Okay, good. I couldn't recall. It's been a week or so since we played this save, so, you know. I'm going to eventually forget things, and I'm going to have to ask myself a few times if we've done that thing yet. Turkey has declared... Oh, Turkey! So that Civil War actually won. Well, that's good for them. I'm glad they're having fun with it. Fun might be a very stretchy way to say it, but, you know, they're doing something. They're doing all right. Our unemployment's down to 500,000 again already. It's so funny to see the mines are just failing because they can't... I guess they just can't afford to pay them any further. But the motor industries can't seem to stay up long enough. The steel mill is actually doing okay now. It's still not good. Most of our steel comes from here, so if Arkansas ever catches on fire, we're doomed. Otherwise, we should be largely fine. Now, I'm starting to see why the wine in Texas is really taking off. There's actually a lot of functional demand for it. And the Swedish are moving to Ohio. From Sweden, at least, so we have that going for us. All they want to do is build steel. I mean, it's nice, but Kansas... I mean, it has coal at least, but Kansas is not where I would have been building the steel mill personally. Although, I don't think the French care what I think. What is happening now? Okay, so Britain's just going for the full annexation of Korea. Deprecated labor laws. Oh, I see. I see. Well, we don't want to upset the trade union. That wouldn't go over well. It probably wouldn't go over well. Oh wow, their momentum has really gotten negative. These it is kind of funny to me how the petite bourgeoisie tend to get so much power under these cooperatives because of all the shopkeepers you get and how rich they become. I find it very amusing. The Great Eastern Crisis. Can that trigger at this point? Has failed the sick man of Europe. At least one of these. Did they not fail it? Okay, that's pretty cool. That is actually pretty cool that they never failed it. Sometimes they do succeed in the reforms in Turkey. Or the Ottoman Empire, as it's usually called in the game. Which is awesome, but there's also a lot of times they fail it every time. And it's just like clockwork. We're just almost waiting to see if they fail whenever we play. But hey, they didn't fail this time. A stable supply of power. Sure, steam turbine, art of doing nothing. I might actually cut the subsidies that we're using to throw food out through the trade center. I mean, we're at minus 0% base price. It makes a lot of jobs. It's profitable. There's no reason to ruin a good thing. No, I'd rather not. Thank you very much. I'd rather not randomly embargo various countries. We're just gonna get more oil rigs set up. I know we can't efficiently use most of them at this time, but we may as well get it set up. We're exporting some of it at least, and in a few years we'll have macroeconomics. I love how fruit is our 4th largest export, but we're also importing thousands of grain. We're actually importing tobacco. We're importing tobacco. That I was actually unaware of. I did not realize we were importing tobacco. Huh. Oh, the more you know. Sounds like to me we should be making more tobacco. Are you actually, like, actively importing more slaves? I mean, it probably is actively importing more slaves. It's just a little difficult to track at times, I swear. I mean, the average annual wage here is 34, which is kind of crazy high, don't you think? Oh my god. Their service demand is insane. I mean, I guess you could switch to electric streetlights, which would kind of help. It replaces the laborers with engineers, though, but I suppose for the areas where they do not have enough services, it might help. And it's at least going to generate additional demand for the power plants, which could help, but it could also hurt. And apparently in some areas it's going to hurt. Is it hurting up in Pennsylvania? And yep, I already see the withdrawal symptoms occurring. Yeah, especially in New York. It'll hurt a little, but it's okay. They'll get over the pain. They will mostly get over the pain. Oh, public motor carriages. See, all of that would be good if the transportation prices hadn't crashed earlier. Although, later on, we're very likely going to begin initiatives that just spike it really hard, and then it's going to crash the other way, and then we're going to wonder why nothing works. We're actually making some profit again, large in part because our interest rate is now down to about half of what it was. That doesn't mean we're in the clear or anything. The trade centers are still eating into our revenue alongside with the railways. We actually have a lot of trade capacity, and I don't know if that's because they're just continually expanding themselves. Oh, I guess the one in New York is, because it's got another 8 levels planned, and Louisiana grew by another 6. Well, good on them for enjoying the benefits of trade. We are going to continue with business as usual and quietly hope that nothing cracks. And if something does crack, we are going to cry in the corner. Now, I'm not expecting this all to just fail immediately, but, you know, not everything goes well in these games. At the very least, we've temporarily dissuaded the trade union from just nuking us. Although the current chairman has a psychological affliction, so he probably wishes he wasn't in office at this point. You actually get more money out of proportional taxation now, but I want the graduated taxation law so we can keep taxing the French companies that are operating here. Revolution in Poland. Well, good luck with that. You know, I'm noticing a lot of communist uprisings lately in Europe the last few years here. Yeah, I mean, it looks like Russia's fine. Qing is actually promoting the modernization movement. That would explain some of the changes they got there. I am assuming that the British are going to win. But there's a non-zero chance that they stalemate and lose. It's technically possible, but it just seems rather... Oh, wrong one. Rather improbable. Kind of one of those things you don't really expect to happen, but if you squint, you could see it happening. So we'll check back on that in a couple of years. Man, we're getting so many mass migrations from Europe still. Which isn't surprising if you consider that just moments ago we observed that there is a lot of instability over there. And that instability is undoubtedly fueling all of these migrations. Otherwise, they wouldn't be doing them to begin with now, would they? Should be able to do more electric sawmills because of the new little areas over here. It is going to make wood very cheap, which means we can actually switch to focused hardwood production, which will make it not cheap. It'll actually make hardwood very cheap instead. But I do believe that's going to be a net positive because our furniture manufacturers are set to be focused on luxury furniture. So if anything, it'll make it cheaper for them because of the high hardware, or hardwood, wow, costs that they usually run. Yeah, their people are doing all right. How is government salary looking? We're at 9.8 for base wage plus 30. Yeah, so they're doing good. We actually could start considering, because reinvestment is up 2 now, we could actually start considering expanding construction a little more. Not too much, because obviously we're going to run out of peasants at some point. But some. Also, one problem I have with the game that I would love for them to fix is that if you're looking at, say, your peasant count here, you're unemployed, it does not count your slave population at all. That's kind of another reason why I usually don't want to use slavery, aside from it just not being as efficient, in my opinion. It's the issue that trying to find the information to gauge whether you have used all of them or not is actually surprisingly difficult. Because the information is kind of hidden from you. Not heavily hidden, but it's not shown in the same area that everything else is. Because they don't count as job seekers, because they're technically not job seekers, and they don't count as peasants or unemployed, because they're technically neither. So the only way to know if you have slaves to employ is to go to the location and check the subsistence farm and see how many of them are slaves. And you have to do that for every state. Which, wow, first off, we have 500,000 in Virginia. Second off, it just feels very inefficient in the long run. And I don't want to do it that way in the long run. Also, I'm going to arbitrarily build a bunch of tobacco plantations here now because I've learned we have a lot of people who can be quote-unquote employed here. And I believe they should be. So we're going to start deficit spending again. Yay! Speaking of which, our GDP was around 6 when I checked before we started recording, and we're now at almost 7, which is largely thanks to the automation methods that we started enacting not long ago. Supporting Bengali workers. Yep, I'm all for it. You literally, you do not have to sell me on it. I'm already backing it all the way. Port's owned by bureaucrats. All right, it's bureaucrat owned, so I think it's got... No, it's mainly workforce dividends. Never mind. Man, they like... The evangelicals just really want to hate on Britain right now. I mean, I think they already are a part of it. Yeah, like, they're already part of it. I don't know why we're getting the event for them to join it when they've already joined it. Maybe I'm just not understanding. Yeah, it looks like Qing may have a civil war. Its modernization movement is becoming more militant very fast. It's also in 2 separate wars against Britain now. And it looks like they're going to lose soon. Well, see, I don't think their capitulation desire will be high enough, but they might... That's a lot of migrations. They might give in at the last moment, but it looks like... Yeah, no, Qing's army has collapsed, and I think the Russians have left, so... Yeah, they're just going down. We have macroeconomics now, which is decisively going to improve the economy just because of that better market access price impact for inputs to outputs ratios. I would like to grab political agitation next, just for the extra authority. But there are several production methods that we would be much better off with if we had, like, nitrogen fixation, just so we had more grain. Conveyor belt. I want to get the compression ignition engine, but obviously jumping straight to too many of those without researching all of their priors is a bit too much too fast, don't you think? Let's grab nitrogen fixation and probably the steam turbine next. I also have not considered our next company. Now, we are not the most profitable in our companies. Our companies actually have very little profit. And the reason why is because almost all of company profit is immediately reinvested as dividends for the workers. So it doesn't really reach the HQ like you would normally expect it to. So that's why our companies seem so outrageously unprofitable. It's because they technically are and technically aren't at the same time. It's a little confusing. We did want... Oh, you know what we could grab? We could grab the Ford Motor Company. That would improve the motor and automobile industries. And it can get rubber plantations, which is fantastic because I wanted rubber. The only thing is that it doesn't give us bonus to electricity. General Electric would do that. General Electric makes special radios, but we can't do this because we haven't invented the telephone, which is a precursor. Oh, you know, if we invade Bulgaria, we can make some special tobacco. We just go over there, you know, invade them, take their tobacco seeds, and then bring it back over to the US, which doesn't sound smart, but, you know, we could do it. So let's do the motor company for Ford. That's what I'm kind of leaning towards right now, which needs motor industries in Michigan. I knew it needed a building in Michigan. The problem is I couldn't remember which building it needed in Michigan because it's doing 2 different types of buildings. So you can see, for example, again, I always talk about it. Maybe I shouldn't talk about it too much because I keep talking about it. How the curve occurs. Usually a lot of the curves are positive with the market access price impact. Some of them are negative because in certain situations they were actually more profitable with the innate demand they had then instead of now. But in most circumstances, buildings will tend to do a bit better as the market price impact improves, because they'll be more in line with the national price rather than their own local supply and demand only. It can help the trade centers too, but judging by our subsidies going haywire, I don't think the trade centers are having a good time right now. They don't seem to be having a good time at all. And yet, we are making a lot more money because our dividend taxes are up. And by extension, consumption taxes are growing, so that's cool. It might also be the lack of construction, but as you can see, reinvestment has jumped up by about 200,000. So let's actually max out Pennsylvania and New York's construction. French from France to Massachusetts. And Brazil is acting up again. I love how Brazil is just getting itself carved. Solely because it just can't help itself. We could actually reduce their autonomy with this war as well. Let's do it. But it's just so funny how they're just pulling themselves into these situations unnecessarily and then losing. Britain has now become belligerent towards us, so that is not the best. Brazil is back down, which has actually reduced our infamy because now they're not, they backed down to it. We didn't enforce it, that's why. It's the simplest explanation, really. It's also the only explanation I have for you. So, we got the Ford Motor Company. We cannot do anything at the moment. We could, because now we're making a lot more money and the reinvestment is stronger, we could remove the coffee tax to give the Ford Motor Company the rubber plantations. Technically, we could also do steel mills, considering the fact that, well, they can have the permission for... Well, actually, I think you can only do one building for the expansion. Even if we could, we already have the French investing, so I don't think there is much of a need for us to go that far. But yes, this company should hopefully start reducing our engine pricing issues, but more likely it'll just crash something somewhere. So it said Massachusetts was getting the French, right? Oh yeah, look at that. There's a lot of French here already. And then they're going to just migrate to other parts of the country, so that's very nice. I wonder if it's because of all the local wine production that they could do. Brazil just cannot help themselves. Ah, because Bengal's backing them, and they got other nations involved as well. Well, that's fine. There's a reason why we expanded the military. Since there was always the chance that this could happen. Ecuador's involved as well. We probably should build a fourth army at some point, but we could also just split our forces if we have to. So, we can make the Netherlands a protectorate. Somehow I don't think Europe would like that. And I would like to make Ecuador let's actually do Ecuador's autonomy. I know we're punishing them even though they're not the ones who started it. Just because it makes everything kind of lined up a little more. It's nice. Brazil's already lost a lot of territory. It's been punished sufficiently. Now, Mexico is a somewhat, quote-unquote, larger issue. Which we can resolve. It's just going to take a while. We could actually take a little bit of territory. Cuba sides with Brazil. Don't tempt me with a good time, Brazil. Cuba. Whatever your name is. You know, we could... I hear they make a lot of coffee and sugar over there. We could swipe one of their states. Yeah, maybe. Maybe we do that. Maybe we swipe a single state of Mexico. Maybe we swipe the cheap state, though, that has the rubber plantation, so we can just control it directly. Yeah. That way we do kind of weaken Mexico a bit. And I know that's not a strong state for them, but it is a somewhat profitable state because it has 17 rubber that can be raised. Which they've even started the investments into. I don't know why. I just realized, why am I lining up a third of the army for an island that they're not even using to invade over here? Oh, wait, French motor industry investment. Oh, the Schneider HQ technically invests in motor industries, I see. I hadn't really been paying attention to that because they hadn't really bought any of them up, so I just kind of ignored it. And we had so many here domestically, I wanted to let something like the Ford Motor Company take it over. We're going to go with it anyway because we want to make the special cars, and also the rubber plantations will allow us to have more rubber because of the increased production, which will be good. So it's fine in the end. Yeah, so once Brazil and Ecuador are down, we can move the army over to help deal with Mexico if it's still standing, but that's primarily because they're getting help from several different countries. They're building so many steel mills. I'm always scared to give companies access to steel mill production because they seem to go a little insane with it. There's a Brazilian uprising in Brazil. How Brazilian of them, I suppose. Looks like they're just buying up a lot of the rubber plantations for now, which honestly I don't mind. That works. Oh, they just can't help themselves. Oh, I was going to say they have to keep trying to win, but they have the lowest ratings now. Apparently the yeoman farmers teamed up with the evangelicals, and the industrialists are part of the Democratic Party now. Okay. I was wondering what changed, because obviously something had changed. John Rockefeller. Portuguese proletariat revolt. At this point, I'm just convinced there's just a mass uprising attempt in Europe from all these different countries. And none of them can figure out how to succeed. Yeah, our peasant and unemployment numbers are dropping again, so we're not going to expand production or construction any further. There's no point in doing so if the unemployment and peasant population numbers are so low and dropping fast. Ecuador wants independence. No, no, no. You stay. Oh, Joshua Norton's still alive. He's 78. I mean, at least he's still around. Alright, let's bring everyone else over and just finish off Mexico here. We're making a lot of money now, which is very good. In part, dividend taxes, but it's also the subsidies are no longer as insane, and the subventions are probably calmed down, the interest rates down. Basically, a lot of things are all going well simultaneously. See, the Ford Motor Company is starting to buy up buildings elsewhere now, so that's good. That'll actually help, because a lot of this was being owned by the United Syndicates of America, which isn't the most helpful end result, I would say. We're at level 4 healthcare, right? Yeah, we just need to get level 5 at some point. Slave Revolt Movement Attraction. I would like to see it try to appear. I don't think it can. Because we've broken our electoral system, I guess, or something. Oh, the number of pops that are slaves is dropping because of all the mass migrations. Which is kind of funny to think about. It's not that there are suddenly less slaves in the country. There's just more people relative to the total population. They're still there. Nothing's changed. There's just so many more people now that you don't see them. Which actually sounds a little dark and dystopian when I say it out loud. You know what? Let's go the extra mile. I don't always use the nitrogen fixation process because of the limitations with oil, but you're always going to hit a limitation if you play this game excessively. At least this way, the fertilizer plants can make more fertilizer and have a higher productivity value. And that should help the wheat farms not completely crash and burn, since they're not going to have a sudden profit issue. You are going to, and we are already seeing that our grain imports are dropping, which is good. Cambodia sides with Qing against Qing modernists. They don't have access to their own market, though. They've been cut off. They even lost the capital. And basically every port. Oh, that's not good. Qing's on fire. Not that we'd have it any other way, I'm sure. Right. Trade deal, thank you. Well, trade deal, peace deal. Same thing, really, in some cases. Trade deal could also be a peace deal, you never know. Yep, they're at 96 now, so they're buying up a good deal of them, so we should see these prices come down a bit. Just because of the increased throughput, but only a bit. I would not be surprised if, yeah, we are exporting some. I'm not that surprised. How much of our trade capacity are we using? We're still at like 3K that we're not using. It's definitely grown, though, because we're over 17K potential capacity. It just grew again. I saw it. We could look into using more subventions now, but I don't know. I don't know. We never did reform our government. Yeah, there we go. The Omen farmers are happy now. Because they have all their political concessions active again for that part. So, you know what? They were just joking when they said they weren't going to help the farms run efficiently anymore. It was a joke, honest. Yeah. Now, get into the bureaucratic chambers. Because we have negative bureaucracy now, and I can't accept that. How, this is a bit of an unrelated question, but yeah, 15 standard of living slaves, that makes perfect sense. What's happening? At 70% workforce ratio, oh my god. So, not only are they working a lot more, but technically their grocery demand, well, they're on subsistence farms in this case, so I believe that their demand is actually hilariously low. Yeah, no, it is, because this is, what, 223,000? But if it's subsistence farm slaves, it's, yeah, okay. I thought it worked that way. I've done a video on that before, but I've used slavery so rarely I tend to forget how the slave pops function in a few areas. Tobacco plantation. Oh yeah, how is that new tobacco plantation we built doing? Well, first off, I didn't set tobacco to be, privatizable, apparently. Nor did I do that for the dye plantations. Cool. Look, just ignore the mass waves of migration at this point. They're doing it for attention. Just don't pay attention to them. You just don't look. Ignore them. They're just doing it for attention, I swear. So how are we... Yeah, there are some areas with max service costs still. Although they don't really have employed pops, which could be a key reason. We could do the public motor carriages, I guess. I'm just a little worried that it wouldn't work out. I mean, it cuts down on the number of jobs, so maybe it works out? Not that I can tell if I switch all of them at once. There's too many that are missing workers to be fully staffed, so I look at the numbers and it doesn't make sense because I can't read half the numbers. Which definitely doesn't help at all. Yeah, we're going to wait on building more of these because we're going to get the coal-fired plant here soon, which is just going to remove wood and greatly increase our coal consumption. Which I have no trouble with, of course. We have plenty of coal mines that could still be built. So coal-fired power plant, switch that over as well because I forgot about it. And then we could just rush compression ignition. We'd get it by 1905. That's going to give us a lot of diesel pumps. Diesel engines, which are very good. Actually, let's get pneumatic tools really quickly, because that actually gives us more hardwood production. And hardwood is already reaching base price or higher. And now we suddenly have a very, very cheap electricity in a lot of areas. I can't imagine why. Definitely wouldn't have anything to do with us suddenly dropping the price of electricity. Oh, I just saw that Joshua Norton has passed. That is unfortunate. He lived a long life. He almost lived long enough to see the next century. Unfortunately, history will have to remember that he passed away just a bit too short of that time. How sad. I'm going to try to finish giving electricity across the U.S. here. I love all the mass migrations we're getting, even though, you know, again, we basically beat our laborers and have over 8 million slaves. Which, yes, is making up less and less of the total population, but, you know, come on, man, it's still slavery. Although I suppose they don't particularly care that much at this point as long as they're not the slaves. It's just so wrong to see slaves at middling standard of living. It doesn't feel right. I know their demand is locked to 12 standard of living at best, but it doesn't feel right to see them doing quote-unquote well like that. It's not what you would expect or think of when you see it the first time. Or any time, really. Well, they bought a few more of these. They're at 7 now. I think they built a few more is the better wording here to use. But there's more now, at least, which is still nice. Yep. I know not all of them are ready to switch over. I'm just switching over the ones that it lets me each and every time. We're definitely still importing tobacco, apparently. Because I guess global tobacco is cheaper than... Oh, yeah, because Britain's exporting like 12,000 tobacco. That's why. Oh, hey, there we go. I'm watching the Virginia tobacco plantations actually get local workforce. Oh, is that what's happening? That's what's happening. So the local workforce can't take it from the government, but they can take it from any, like, manor house in Oklahoma that appears that buys it out. That's a very roundabout workaround, but I think it's kind of suggesting that... Yeah, it's suggesting that the workers can't privatize the buildings from the government. That's why we're seeing instances where this isn't switching over. The manor houses and financial districts have to buy it first, which is also why you always have some capitalists and aristocrats. I never noticed this in my past games before. But it would very much explain the circumstances surrounding it. I can't really agree to any of those. I don't want to agree to any of those. Neither of those laws sound good to me. Good, not foreign. Why are they trying to make enemies out of every great power? It is the one great power that does not dislike us, and they're trying to make enemies out of it. I don't understand. What is wrong with you people? Oh, the doggos come to say hello. One of them, at least. Oh, there's been a coup in Austria. The intelligentsia. Oh, Tunis is actually losing to a socialist revolt. Cool. And who put Qing back together? Looks like, yeah, the modernists did, and Qing has not immediately collapsed 5 seconds after, so that's probably a good thing. They are on the trade policy protectionism. I actually wonder... Because they shouldn't have the Chinese stance on that at this point. Yeah, they don't. So that's good. Investments in the Qing might be a little weird for us to do, though, but it is something we could do. If only because we appear to be slowly running out of pops ourselves. We're almost below 3 million peasants. We have hit over 1 billion GDP, and with a GDP of over 8 before the year 1900, which is very good. A fantastic job all around to everyone involved. Including, of course, the indentured labor who work tirelessly day and night in the fields under seemingly indefinite conditions. Very, very well done. Oh, God. Honestly, at this point, I might just stop suppressing the movements entirely because I don't think it's going to do anything good for us. How about you get a monopoly on automotive industries? Because I know that's going to push the price for it back up, so then we can just make more of them. And I think they're very close to the prosperity they need, but of course, the person in charge is just unpopular enough to make it not possible. They have to get higher productivity than they already have. Because this guy's not popular enough to activate it. Excellent work, sir. I'm very happy to see this. Idaho has a lot of explosives, apparently. It's trying to build a lot of explosives. It actually has a lot of unemployed. Interesting. You know, we could always use more meat. Although it's building a lot here, so... Oh, they're building a railroad, too. They actually thought of everything. They're building a railroad while they expand. Fantastic. Oh, so this is the livestock ranch that the premium foods company has been buying up. I wasn't sure they were even buying them up at this point. It turns out they have been. They've just been buying it up elsewhere. So, we could switch everything to electric rollers. Make sure that's the right one. Everything to sawmills. And not everything to sawmills? What state doesn't have electricity yet? The state of Wisconsin does. I'm not misreading that. Who is missing? Oh, right, Florida, the District of Columbia. Oh, Jesus. I mean, American Panama, fair enough. It's the other ones I can't believe I forgot about. Goodness. So I'm going to choose to believe that our standard of living is now stalling out, not because of the enslaved pops, but because we had a lot of people migrate here at once. Not blaming the new migrants for lower standard of living or anything. Just, you know, they came here from worse conditions. Of course things aren't going to be good for them right now. That's just how it is. Okay, let's go a step further, and we're going to switch to public motor carriages. This does add some higher tier jobs, but it removes a bunch of laborers. Now, I don't expect it to be initially profitable because while it did remove jobs, it also added an input of good for expense. But I can see it helping because service prices may drop a little, since now it has more play technically. Very, very big like caveat point there. They're like technically with huge quotations because they may just fire 200,000 people next week, and I have to just turn around and notice that after the fact. Let's also grab plastics for the production potential. This also technically moves us to compression ignition slowly, not quickly, but it is reducing the innovation cost we'd have to spend on it, which is good. Electrical capacitors will finish soon too, and then we'll probably go compression ignition, although I do want to grab antibiotics just to maximize our standard of living, to just be funny. Because we're currently staring down the point where, I mean, if I took off violent treatment for the slaves here in the sugar plantations, they would jump up probably to 16. Well, I mean, pollution impacts should be dropping it already, so they would jump up all the way to 17, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, they get up there. Austria is currently attempting to invade Switzerland. Regular Switzerland, not East Switzerland. I don't know what's happening at this point. I'm seeing lots of socialist and communist revolts everywhere. There's a Korean uprising that's beating back Britain after Britain won. Like, I don't know what's happening. The world's kind of on fire. Italy is now being darkened by several revolts simultaneously. Please send someone. I'm very scared at this point. I don't know what's going on. I don't think this one's gonna win, right? Like, this revolt would not win. Yeah, two Sicilies would probably join? No, they didn't. Okay. It will probably fail, but I suppose there's now a chance that it could not fail. Oh, Circassia is a Turkish puppet. And Russia's trying to seize the whole thing. And Turkey is fighting back. I mean, Turkey's probably going to lose, but we'll see. Reform against revolution. I think we already did the whole revolution thing. I don't know if you could really reform against it. Unless you're, like, saying counter-revolution or something. What is happening? There are 95,000 people here, and you can't find anyone to run in this? Fools. Amateurs. No, it's the funny thing with peasants and slavery. It doesn't always function how you think it would. Sometimes it cooperates, but sometimes it doesn't. And we're kind of seeing that latter issue right now. Oh, we're just building the sulfur mines ourselves. Okay, that's fine. I don't mind. Just a little surprised. But yeah, no, go ahead. Communist ideology will be more likely to appear in our country. I don't believe you. I don't even see a communist movement. I don't believe it. That word in the slightest when it says that they're more likely to appear. Oh, we have more construction now. Right, pneumatic tools. Do we have... No, we might need to begin a new round of automation. Oh yeah, the explosives factory can use the brine electrolysis now. Which just means they're going to make more explosives. To keep it extremely simplistic without really explaining. I mean, automatic power looms does sound nice. The only issue is the price increase, obviously, of electricity. But if you solve that, it shouldn't be too problematic. Although, I could not solve this service issue. And so, some of these areas, they just don't have the people. Arcades would probably help, but arcades actually add more jobs than they take away, which is interesting. I was going to say paradoxical, but that's probably not true. It's probably just, it's interesting, it's strange, you know, it's there. So, for automation, let's now switch all the mines over to rail transportation, which I know technically means less slaves in some areas, but what it also means is that we actually should see a small increase. Oh, they're already solving the electricity issue themselves. Not in Arizona, where it's apparently up to 2,000, because they built all the explosives down there, apparently. Didn't realize they built that many down there. I knew they built some, but not this many. So 16... God, no, I think you need to... This needs to be increased all the way to 20 at least. And that's actually just going to get it at the halfway mark. Well, not to worry. If it collapses, we'll be fine. I have it on good authority. We'll be fine. The iron mine in New York's working normally again as well, at least. And it is now rightfully telling me it would actually lose productivity if we stopped using it there. It's a little weird like that. It thinks it'll be unprofitable till you use it sometimes. The little prediction system with automation, I do like to say it's mostly accurate. It has inaccuracies, so it's not perfect, and there are going to be times when it's kind of effectively lying to you. So you kind of need to use your own math to figure it out, which is not great, but, you know, the game's not always going to tell you the right thing, apparently. We did just hit an average standard of living of 30, which is very nice. Please ignore the pops that don't get to enjoy such good standard of living. Who is coming over here? A land reformer. Sure, why not? You're part of the trade union, so who cares? What's the worst that could happen? I guess it could be like Tuscany right now. Poor Tuscany. Wow, is Russia actually going to lose that war against Turkey? I mean, Turkey's in a second separate war now with Britain, so they just might lose anyway. How's Japan doing? 20th largest economy, 14 million. At least one of our subjects has a higher GDP than that. Actually, where's the main, like, GDP for Argentina? I'm a little curious. 18% here, 14 there, 11 there. It's all like, what, coal, iron, and sulfur? And lead. It literally is just exploited land. That's all it is. That's funny. I mean, it works, right? They're making money off of it. They're not having any major issues. For them, it's just working, so it works. Also, I don't know if I mentioned it, but I am trying to experiment with OBS a little with additional audio control. It mainly is to prevent my keyboard and mouse from being heard. And if you are not hearing the keyboard or mouse at all, then that means it's working, and I have managed to partially fix it. Because for the longest time, it has just been constantly been getting picked up, and it's always annoyed me, and I can never figure out how to fix it. And I am very much hoping that it is finally the case that it is fixed, and that I don't have to worry about it anymore. So, I can't help but notice that the New York Premium Foods has an average annual wage of $153. What are you guys doing? Being rich, I guess, but, like, what are you doing? How is this happening? I can't wait to use plastic and then crash another part of the economy. We're actually reaching a point where I could consider dropping taxes, but I'm going to wait till the interest pool, till our debts are completely gone, because I do not want to have to deal with it again. If we can help it. How you doing, boy? How you doing? So doggos are coming over to say hi again. Oh, she's found the mic. No, 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 no mic. No mic for you. Usually I don't do this till the end, but I'm recording at a completely different time, so obviously all bets are off. Anything could happen. Let's do... Is anything tech spreading over here? I don't see anything. Is anything tech spreading over here? I think central planning is. So we'll go for compression ignition next. We could go for the radio, but we'll go for compression ignition next. And we're going to switch over to plastics. And of course, with that plastic switch, we have now completely shattered glass prices, almost literally in some cases. But now we can switch to making more porcelain, which is obviously going to crash porcelain prices. Please stand by for the impending budget crisis until this resolves itself. Porcelain demand should increase, and glass should see a growing export because there's already global demand for the commodity. So, ideally, the excess trade space that we have, which we've actually grown to use, we're actually at 21,000 now for capacity, almost 22,000. So that has been growing while we weren't paying attention. Especially tea, wow. Yes, we are at least partially recovering on glass price already by exporting over 10,000 of it. Porcelain is exporting a little under 1,000, over 1,000 now. It's mainly just pops are gravitating towards it. This is actually going to hurt the furniture manufacturers a bit, but oh well. Brazil is now attempting to gain independence again. It is once again getting backing from the same suspects, except Spain has also joined this time. How lovely. How lovely indeed. I'm so glad to see that they're all coming together to be completely brutalized by our army. All right, well, who do we punish this time? Ecuador is technically involved, but to punish them, we'd have to annex them, which, I mean, we could do. The Netherlands is involved as well. It's good that most of our subjects are nice, loyal subjects. Ignore Venezuela. I mean, we could just keep punishing Mexico, right? It sounds mean, but we could just keep punishing Mexico. It's also because Brazil is too weak at this point to really build a actual standing army. Technically, Mexico's population is too small, but you know, there's no guarantee of that. Again, we could make the Netherlands a protector. There's the Taiping Rebellion. Oh. Well, okay, China shattered. I mean, it made it till 1901, so it's roughly historical with when it shattered, which is pretty neat. I don't know. Do we want to make the Netherlands a subject? I don't think we do. I mean, I could kind of see us doing it. The only issue is, could we land? Probably. If we make them a puppet. Yeah, you know what? We'll do it. A lot of places don't like our opponents already anyway, because they started targeting territory. Now, we are going to have to position the fleet towards the Netherlands. Soldier's disease. Oh, treat him for shell shock. Mobilize the army. And go from there. I'm going to say Ecuador's army is so small, I probably don't need to even help it. The Beiyang government is being backed... Wait, they're backing up the Beiyang government against the Heavenly Kingdom. So we may actually see a situation where the government in Beijing actually wins this instead of the Heavenly Kingdom. That is actually funny. If we could get something out of it, I would probably join, but we can't, so I won't. We'll send 2 armies to deal with Mexico. It looks like Ecuador and Brazil don't have the army to actually threaten with. So we'll focus our efforts on knocking out Mexico and the Netherlands. And yes, of course, we're going to add the Netherlands to the empire. I mean, the cooperative. What could possibly go wrong from us doing that? I can't imagine anything going wrong. What I can imagine, though, is that I should seriously consider actually automating our farms now, which we are going to go ahead and make them all automated up to tractors. Yeah, we'll remove any slaves they may have had working, but I'm going to be honest with you, I think half of them didn't even have slaves to begin with. Yeah, this wheat farm in North Dakota didn't actually have any. It could be that they just got rid of them because of the automation, mind you. But yeah, they weren't there. So upgrade these when we're done. And we are going to have a naval invasion begin. Now, once Mexico's knocked out, we can come down and knock out the holdouts in South America, but I'm not expecting the holdouts in South America to... Oh, well, disadvantaged now because I guess the Spanish army joined in and is defending. Yep. But that's okay because the main enemy army over here just got eviscerated, so we lose one front, we win the other. It's okay. That's just how it goes. Papers at plus 13. Motors are down to just plus 21, which is actually a good win. The tobacco plantation's paying over 40 ducats an average annual wage. Oh my god, that's a lot of money. These pops would actually have a higher standard of living if Tennessee didn't have outrageous service costs. But it has outrageous service costs because it can't find anyone to actually work. So, yeah, hard to blame them there. I don't even know if these peasants are trying to find a job at this point. They're almost at the point where they're satisfied with their current lot in life, so... apparently the answer is no, they're not really looking that hard. You know, like maybe they're looking at a job ad once a month or something. You know, they're thinking about it, but they're not really there yet. Yeah, it's not really worth it compared to what they're already making now. I love how New Jersey just has all that paper. Just for whatever reason, it just has all that paper. That's funny. But yeah, this is the issue I've been talking about before, where if you have slavery, your peasants tend to be less interested in actually finding a job. Because their standard of living tends to get higher because they just take whatever the slaves don't need, and the slave upkeep is usually basically non-existent because they're being treated like peasants, and because they're being treated like peasants, they need basically nothing to survive. To give you an idea, we have over 500,000 slaves being employed in North Carolina. Their upkeep cost is 1.21k per week. Literally, it is cheaper to keep them cared for than it is to care for the peasants that are being paid for, who I'd like to note are almost living prosperous lives as peasants now. Yes, that is notably modified, but even without modifiers, they're at a standard of living of 19, which is still notably high. We have fully occupied the Netherlands as well, by the way, so this is going to decisively end in our favor. We just have to capitulate its allies. And then we will basically be job done. Yep, there we go. We've added the Netherlands and its colonies to our glorious empire, which hopefully just means we can use their rubber. Portuguese East Africa. Oh, the French actually have a notable colony in Africa. I'm a little surprised by that. Portugal's going for a protectorate. Yes, Portugal. I'm not particularly wanting to root for Portugal that much, but I just thought it was a bit too amusing to not root for a little. We're actually just going to build up all the livestock ranches in Nevada. We're going to force these peasants to no longer be peasants. And they'll hate us for it. And then we'll celebrate anyway, because I don't know, there's less peasants now. Do I need a reason to celebrate that? Or I feel like we could just celebrate it. And look at how few radicals we have. Everyone is so well cared for. No one is being given absolutely abusive treatment in their place of work at all. I've been calling this harsh treatment. It's officially described as violent treatment in the game, but let's be honest, is there really a difference? I feel like the result's roughly the same either way. We actually make so much money now, I could consider... Why are we paying $300,000 for sugar plantations? What the hell? Ah, because sugar prices have crashed very recently. Because of the involvement of the Dutch East Indies. Yeah, okay. Yeah, nope, that makes sense. I crashed the price myself. That's what's going on here. I did it. It was me. How much liquor do we need? Not that much. We actually import almost all of it. Huh. Could use more fish, could use more meat. We're going to end up getting neither, probably. I mean, we could get a bit more fish. Alaska's apparently not fishing enough. It's not fishing at all. It's just whaling. It's just spending all of its money up there. So, instead of working at the livestock ranch, they're just unemployed. Because technically, the lives they would work there are much worse. We may need to... I'm somewhat reluctant to do it, but we're going to have to start just actively subsidizing the livestock ranches. Because their wages are just notably lower. And they can't raise their demand because of the fluctuations that keep occurring. Maybe this will entice the company to start buying them up a little too. It'll at least get some peasants to stop peasanting. Or at least somewhat willing to entertain... Yeah, that went down by 1,000. They're at least somewhat willing to entertain the idea of a job there instead. Spanish radical revolts. It's literally split the country down the middle. You can't make this up. Yeah, nice try, Britain. Yeah, we're not using all of our construction now, but I think that's because... They're running out... Yeah, they've less than 2 million peasants. They're running out of people to employ. So livestock ranches will now use electric fencing. Yay, said no one. You know, the steel mill and the motor industries could use the rotary valve engines, and we do have a lot of those now. You know, anything to increase automation. We are also making Ford automobiles, finally. Fantastic. Speaking of automation, though, that is going to increase coal prices again. Oh, you know, I hear Virginia has a lot of people who can actually work there. And it looks like Kentucky just wants us to build a bunch. They actually have not that many slaves, but oh well. Now, I am aware switching the diesel pump is going to reduce the amount of employable laborers or slaves, but there's still technically going to be at least 5,000 that can operate there. So, you know, still works. I've always thought about, like, well, what do you do and what happens if you run out of jobs for slaves to do? And then I thought that's probably not going to happen because you've either abolished it or you've reached 1836. 1936, I should say, before either of those happen. Especially as a bigger country like the US, and since it's also a little difficult to actually track where the slaves are without checking every state individually, you might not even notice that there are slaves with no job that are just sitting there starving. I mean, maybe you will notice. Maybe you won't notice. I don't know. Automotive industry in Tennessee at 70, level 79. Jesus. That's just gotten out of hand. I mean, they're making good money, don't get me wrong, but I do feel like it's gotten a little out of hand. We're trade centers using it more than the urban center. We're purchasing 57 automobiles for slaves now. I see that number's only gone up from like 6 to 7 when we last checked. Call for women's suffrage, even though that's not happening. Yeah, we can technically get slave revolt movements. It's just, with the slave debate active, we can't get them. It's weird. As I just yawn in the background. Who died? A moderate from Britain. Well, sucks there for him, I guess. Kentucky is now getting a bunch of South Italians. Honestly, that's a good thing, because we're about to need a lot. Who is migrating here again? South Germans from Austria? From Bavaria. I guess Bavaria's not doing too well. Oh, there's the Italian pop migrations. By the tens of thousands each month to a bunch of states. Tennessee included. So perhaps unsurprisingly, our population is now more so driven by migration than actual growth, because our annual projected pop growth is below 0.5. Russian people from Russia. What is happening in Russia? They have a communist movement that is moving all the way to protesting and agitating liberal movement. Although that's because they're enacting the right to assembly. It was more upset earlier. Interesting. Interesting. I've already forgotten where they were migrating to, but not to worry. We can slowly figure that out. That's Russian Lithuanians. I just saw the Russian flag and assumed, without thinking, oh yeah, so it is like Michigan. They want to come work for Ford. I don't know if they enjoy that, mind you, but apparently that's what they're trying to do. So we're just gonna wait and see how many pops end up showing up there. Yep, so next week it should tell us 62,000 in Michigan itself. 108,000 to the great state of Ohio. Oh, that's great. Oh, that's great. We had, in a very short time span, because we didn't really have that many Russians, we're already over 200,000 in 1 month. We'll check back on that number later, because I don't want to slow the game down too much by me just eyeballing it. I can't lower taxes. We'd go into a deficit again. And I can't increase our construction because we're running out of peasants and we don't have somewhere to invest into like China because China collapsed. Although, God, it would be so good, wouldn't it, to just start making protectorates over here, or maybe just get a treaty port or 5. Who's going to war with who? Oh, Prussia and Russia are going to war with each other. That seems like fun. I hope they have the time of their lives. We are definitely going to ignore it and not get involved in any way, shape, or form. I don't know about you, but war is scary. You know, like, I'm not going over there. 146,000 peasants, and they don't want to... Well, I guess, yeah, I wouldn't want to leave my job either if some of us peasants were living affluent lives. Is that actually holding, or is that just dropping? That is dropping, okay. So it's not that insane, but it is kind of crazy still. How is our rubber plantation doing? It's not fully employed, but that's because there's almost no one to employ there. There are some, it's just not as many as one might hope. Ooh, nicely done, Russia. You have a fair number of pops. We have a lot more, though. She had 31 standard of living on average, although this is being significantly modified at this point from the various prestige goods that we make and other resources. Pressing issues. Socialist Party, of course, which apparently includes the intelligentsia now. I did not notice that. Oh, good for the intelligentsia. I'm sure they want us to do things like ban slavery and whatnot, which, you know, maybe we'll get around to doing it at some point in 100 years. So many revolutions, which I guess is fine for us. These revolutions just keep feeding us pops in the long run. So it's been almost a year now. How many Russians are there in the country? It's jumped up to 1.74 million now, and it still has a few months to go at least. 1.95 million, it's just going up by 200,000 almost every year. Or month. We have a full year of it going on. And yet we can't use all of our construction. Because there's just not enough worker demand at this point. Honestly, we should just probably renegotiate the Treaty of Little Rock here and get investment rights into France. The problem is they won't agree to it because it's technically no longer as favorable as it was before. Russia's cooperative. Maybe we can invest into them. We could almost convince Qing to do this. We might have to bribe them a little. Oh, wow. Are they broke or something? Input quantity, Chinese budget deficit. Yeah, they're broke. Can I negotiate a treaty port from you? Not really. 490 is a lot. But I wouldn't need to give you an obligation. Then actually, I could ask for one. I don't even need to give you a guarantee of independence. I could literally just bribe you into letting me into your country, actually. I don't even need to give you an embassy. I can literally just bribe your government for 1,000 years. Not really 1,000, but, you know, 25 is good, too. So now we can invest into Beijing, which is basically just literally Beijing and the southern half of China. And Spain's declared us a rival now. Well, I don't care. Oh, these psychological afflictions, they must be dealt with. Who's the fourth? They're fourth largest. Who's the other three? Oh, France is actually 143. That's cool. Liberal movement revolt. The poor Beiyang government is just suffering. But our construction can now invest abroad instead if they choose to. They might not. They might choose not to. It's hard to say. I don't know if they would agree to it, but we could try to bribe Russia into letting us build there. Of course, I'm going to try to give them as little as possible. We actually can. Like, we actually can. I think it's because of the war they're in right now is why they're willing to agree to it. They have a budget surplus, but they have loans. So that might be why they're willing to actually kind of agree to it, is because they actually do need the money. Or at least they can use the money. France is not as financially inconvenienced. And they do have an inherent dislike towards us right now. Something about starting a couple of wars. I don't know what they're talking about, though. You know what? I could actually agree to declare a rival against Austria, because they've had us rivaled for a while now. So I could actually agree to that and not worry about it. Puerto Rican radical revolt, so no. It's in the British market, so... Oh well, who cares? I mean, I guess Britain cares because it's their subject. Beginning to fight itself. But why would we care about that? That's the questions we should be asking. Unfortunately, no one knows the answer. So we just keep going. 2 months to compression ignition, we can blow the economy up even higher. Although the economy seems to be heavily centered around 3 states down here. And then there's just New York and maybe Pennsylvania. How is Alaska doing on its standard of living? It's almost at affluent itself. Although that might be because the whaling stations are just suffering because it's whaling stations. No, another communist revolt in Portugal, as if the last one wasn't enough. Oh, they don't want to become a subject, but they'd be willing to accept aid. It would be kind of funny to help propagate that, but I don't think I need to get involved in such an expensive war unnecessarily. I was going to say, why do they have such high liberty desires? Because they have really high fervor of their cultures. That's like, what, 90% fervor? 93. That's really high. So I notice we're building bananas in Eastern Guangdong. Excellent. Fantastic. The armed forces exist again. We'll see how long that lasts. And I actually don't want to reshuffle the yeoman farmers out of government. That wouldn't go too well. We don't want to accidentally harm our production potentials. I say, as we still lack the population to employ people in steel mills. Because they'd rather be peasants with their own set of slaves. Why do I do this to myself? We did a run with serfdom with Russia until we got to the year 1900. Now we're doing this insane thing with worker cooperatives and slavery. But have you seen the productivity of these tobacco plantations? Imagine all the money they're saving right now by enslaving half their workforce. And those slaves actually demand goods. I mean, their standard of living isn't great, but they do demand goods. So, you know, that's awesome. I'm actually curious about the grocery demand relative to everyone while we have time. Slaves are only purchasing 2,000. Pop consumption is 83,000. Yeah, okay, that makes sense because of the whole standard of living issue. It would make sense that the slaves are on the very low end by being less than 7% of the population and having very low standard of living relative to everyone else. It would probably be weirder if they were rather high up there. What about porcelain, though? Are we buying porcelain for any of them? I assume not. Yeah, of course not. They're not allowed to have nice things, I guess. I would like to get the automatic bottle blowers. Could really fire a lot of laborers. Permanently. But we are going to get the compression ignition engine in 16 months first. And then maybe we can get the automatic bottle blower. Actually, if the electric railways finishes in time, we may get this a month sooner, which will be nice. Yeah, I think Portugal will win in the end because I'm pretty sure they have more troops. And the way it's set up, if the Civil War prolongs, the main side will win instead of the uprising, usually. So Sweden's now trying its hand in unification, which might go better for it. Might not. You know, we'll see. I don't know if investing into Russia is a good idea, given their whole backing to our subjects' revolts, but it looks like they're not doing that anymore. Mostly. Mostly. I think they're going to hate us for life, to where I can't get it to work, but we can try. I see that the government in Beijing is slowly reunifying China already. They've already taken out one warlord. So honestly, this deal might work out great for us in the end. Although I don't know if they're going to do a lot of investment right now because it is a destabilized, disorganized mess. But you never know. Recently conquered. Oh, is the entire southern area recently conquered? Oh, wow. That does not feel like something that it should have done to the Beijing government. Are they okay with their debt situation? Apparently they are, yeah. I guess they're just not building anything. And it does look like our companies are doing some overseas investments now. Not a lot, but they are doing some. What happened? So I just noticed our legitimacy suddenly collapsed. I think it's because the bourgeoisie and the industrialists switched parties, it looks like. So now I'm going to have to switch this out, even if it upsets the farmers. Yeah, there you go. The bourgeoisie are in their own party. And, of course, they're powerful. Because why wouldn't they be? all the political strength from New York and its massive trade center that makes a profit of 1.75K a week. I mean, they have such high wages that they're at least still making a good living here in the end. But that was just funny to see. Are we on 2.56 million peasants? Yeah, that's not bad. That's kind of an acceptable parameter based on our size. I mean, ideally, we would have 0 peasants, but I'd say given our current situation, having it being a little over 5% with constant mass migrations is a-okay. There's not really much of an issue with that there. Shopkeepers are actually our 3rd largest pop group. That's so silly. Man, these workforce ratios are nowhere near reaching their limit. Like, we still actually have a lot of pops to employ. If the average right now is about 35 for most of the pop groups, that's like about, what, 10% of a window? No, 50% is as high as it can get. So we're missing between 15 to 20% of potential workforce, depending on where they're at. So there's actually still a lot of pops that could be gainfully employed right now that aren't. But, oh well. We can't really control that now, can we? What I can control is the complete destruction of motor industry production. Because this is going to hurt. Like, yeah, we're at 1.6 million in deficit now for that. When I said this was going to hurt, I wasn't joking. We might as well give oil a reason to exist as well. So we're going to go into debt for that. The gold mines, sulfur mines, and lead mines will all get diesel pumps. The others will have to wait a little as we recalculate the current effect and also get more oil rigs going. Because, well, I mean, good news, oil is expensive. Bad news, oil is expensive. Yeah, let's just build it a bit everywhere. Kind of spread it out a little bit here. California's maxed out its oil rig. It just doesn't have enough people to work it yet. I mean, we could fix that. Right? Maybe. You know what? Actually, yes, because we're going to be using a lot more oil rigs. Let's just switch to tanker cars. And then we'll let the game sort that out from there. Hold the Grand Exposition. Exhibition. Close enough. I want more interest in Europe. So we are going to be several million in debt for a while. That's just going to be how it is. The motor industries may not actually fully solve themselves. They may actually just collapse for a while, too. That's something else to consider. Because I don't know if they're going to be able to do enough exports. We are exporting almost 30,000 already. What the hell? Who is importing all of these? And how is this a profit? We're not even trying to export it. I guess Britain needs a lot of them, yeah. In terms of the automobiles, they'll still be profitable. You might see it unemploy a few folks or drop a bit, but it should be pretty profitable still, all things considered. Our GDP has jumped up by several hundred million. It's all the way at 1.63 now, 1.63 billion if it holds. It was around 1.4 or so before we did the switch, and we haven't even switched over iron and coal. We held off on that because I didn't want to completely collapse the coal prices. Although those are increasingly being used by other... You know, we could switch over iron as well. It says it's only 11,500. It's actually relative to the total amount we're using, it's actually less than I expected. So that is going to cause a good chunk of unemployment, which is our intention. But it also means it should be able to give people a better wage just because of its higher productivity. Ideally. Whether it actually does is a completely different story. How much would this crash coal by? 24,000? You know what? I'm willing to believe we could export the coal. So while I would normally wait on switching coal over because the price would usually collapse, we're actually using so much that the price is only going down to -14, -12. When I say collapse, sometimes when I would switch over to the diesel pump, we're talking that coal prices shoot down to -30, -35%, or even worse than that. So it gets unprofitable for them to run. And they just stop running for a time. Okay, 13% penalty is kind of there. They are building seven more railways here, though, so that is going to work itself out. Our budget deficit's only about $500 million now. Or sorry, $500,000. If it was $500 million, we'd be in trouble. Given time, the motor industries will eventually work their way out, but that might be partially contingent on steel prices coming back down. Which I'm kind of reluctant to subsidize them because I'm scared that it's going to collapse later. But at this point, the peasants are refusing to leave their farms to come work here. Now, so here's the thing. We're subsidizing this at a wage of 0 per week. But as you've noticed, it's recruiting people suddenly. We have tens of thousands, like that's just dropped by 20,000 peasants. If you go back, this was over 150,000. Now it's at 121,000. All because we're quote unquote subsidizing it without actually spending anything. It just convinces them it's now the best job that they could ever want. And so they take it. Which is great for me because it's actually made things a lot less painful. Since steel prices are no longer at +40, they're at +20 instead. And, of course, they're not peasants now, so they're demanding more goods. These evangelicals are just hating on Britain. I mean, this is the 3rd time we've gotten that event in, what, a decade and a half? They are just hating on Britain this game. And I cannot explain it. Well, good thing we need a lot of oil now, I guess, and half of that's for the motor industries, so good luck. I mean, they're back up to -26. They're exporting 36,000, though, so almost half of our demand for engines is just exports at this point. But the good news is that it means we've used up basically all of our trade capacity as a result, and it's with trades that we're not even subsidizing. Well, some of them aren't being subsidized. Look, the Trade Center in New York's doing better. It's almost a 50K profit margin. We are also now beginning what I believe is the 3rd or 4th war of Brazilian independence. They have gotten Prussia and Austria to join this time. And it is the exact same 3 people that it was before. So, at this point, I mean, if we drop Brazilian autonomy, it does become harder for them to make the mutual independence treaties. I believe they still could, but they wouldn't have a defense pact with the Netherlands anymore, for example, or an alliance with Mexico, because they would no longer be independent. So, we are now going to punish Brazil. I mean, you know what? I don't mind this too much because Prussia, Austria, and Spain were all being hostile to us to start with, and it is kind of funny to just repeatedly beat them up. The only issue is that they're bringing an ever-increasing number of troops to these fights, and I actually have to consider raising even more troops now. To the point where we actually have to consider conscription on the regular, just to keep things stable. But I'm sure this won't have any adverse effect on the markets. Probably. Probably. Actually blockade Gibraltar over here. Kind of raid convoys. Stop the Spanish and Austrian forces from easily supplying their allies. Honestly, I'm half tempted to take another state from Mexico as well as just as punishment. You know what? I think we will. Yeah. I'm sorry, Mexico, but you know, you brought this on yourself. I've been trying to play nice this whole time. It's gonna upset a lot of folks, but a lot of folks are angry with each other already anyway. God's will wants but God surely wants the Socialist Party of America to win. I don't know if those words should be coming out of my mouth. I feel like I'm going to be harshly punished for saying that. Average annual wage of 58, the automotive industry plant. One could dream of such wages. Whoa! Wait, when we last checked at the base wage at the government admin, it was like 9 something. It was below 10. You were telling me the average wage has skyrocketed to 17.14 now? Oh my god, how are we not dying to like debt? I know we have the income and the dividend taxes, but how are we not dying to debt from the spike of government wages? I mean, I guess our subventions are not doing too badly and subsidies have come down. We're not constructing, I guess. It's because we're not constructing. But yeah, so at this point, our clerks are living affluent lives even without the assistance of the healthcare system, which is a little scary, but I like it. I also just realized the effect of prestige goods consumption is dropping because luxury furniture, which they are consuming a lot of, is not prestige, nor is porcelain. So that's funny to me. But our average standard of living is all the way up at 33 now, and we are going to ruin the lives of more workers by replacing them with oil. Actually, speaking of oil, we can do the same thing on the farms with the compression ignition tractors. It replaces the coal with oil, so that's what makes it effective. That's also what makes people sad. We are back to the mass deficit now because the glassworks suddenly have no idea where they're going to get all this oil from. We did not inform them that this was going to happen, nor did we tell them how to get the oil. They've just been told to deal with it. And they're very upset about that because oil is very expensive. Actually, forget that. What happened to the glass prices? Were the glassworks not fully employed in several sectors? That's the only explanation I can think of, is that we were not employing glass in several sectors. And as a result, it wasn't... I mean, no, it looks like it's fine. Again, the price dropped mysteriously, came right back, and productivity is now higher than before. Something weird happened there, but it's okay. It fixed itself pretty fast. So I'm going to choose to just not worry about it. Could we, you know what? I'm actually going to go ahead and do a decree to attract a lot of pops to Texas. We need like another 1 million or 2 over here to exploit all the oil, because we really need to exploit this oil. Oil prices are kind of high. Ecuador's got into debt. And it's probably going to file for bankruptcy soon. That's good. I mean, they're our subject. I don't want to wish ill upon them, but they also keep revolting against us. So it's like, you gotta be taught a lesson here, so you're gonna have to go bankrupt and lose stuff. You know, I don't want to do it. You made me do it, or something like that. Meanwhile, oil is so expensive, the oil rig in Oklahoma is paying a wage of over 100 ducats. That'll be cute until the oil prices come down, and then it has to drop their wages again. How are we looking for the average annual wage now? 17.26. It has gone up. It is still going up at a slower rate, but it's still going up. So if you're working as a soldier now, you're also either an affluent life or a wealthy life, depending on your rank. Japanese proletariat revolt. Why are there... Is us being a Council Republic just that bad for global stability? That it's just, like, collapsing everywhere? No one wants to be our subjects of how much of a pseudo-pariah we are. I kind of want to help the anarchist revolt in Japan win, just because I think it would be really funny. The problem is that Russia is leaning towards joining against the anarchist revolts, so I'd rather just let it die. Vietnam has a revolt now as well. One of these revolts is going to succeed at some point. With or without our intervention. It would just be an extremely long amount of time. Oh, film art. Yay. Kind of forgot about that, actually. Art is very forgettable in this game. Not the UI art, it's nice. I meant like the art academies. They're very forgettable. Kind of sad, actually. But, oh well. I'm sorry, that power plant is paying how much? 46 from a power plant. Yeesh, okay. I mean, I'm glad to see that they're doing so well, but I'm also a little startled by the fact that they're doing so well. Just doesn't seem like something that would be happening. But, you know, here we are. 1.77 million GDP. We have a GDP-C of 12 now, and we're not even at the workforce ratio cap. So this is one issue I have with the game that I would love for the developers to work on, is the workforce ratio. I understand it moves really slow so that the effect of war can really set in. But here's the thing. We could reach 1935, and these machinists right here at 34.7% workforce would still not even reach 50%. They probably would barely even reach 45%, if even that. I might be a bit generous with that one there. Basically, I've passed those laws and have a very happy trade union to increase the workforce ratio, but it takes... Well, okay, for the laborers and the machinists, it's also because we keep getting mass migrations, and they're from a lower workforce ratio. So that's also kind of having a bit of a negative impact, because the slave groups are not really getting changed that much, and they are actually reaching their workforce ratio maximum. So, I don't know. I guess I just wish the workforce ratio moved a bit faster when you were at peace for an extended period of time or something. Maybe I should try an experiment where we don't allow mass migration, or migrations in general, just to see how long it takes for the workforce ratio to reach its maximum. Because I don't know how long it takes. I just know that it takes a very long time. Anyway, small rant over. We have won that war again. Brazil is now a puppet, so more blue on the map. Yay. Now I kind of want to remove the guys that we made exist. But that would cost 43 infamy, and we don't have that. Well, we wouldn't be removing them that way. We'd just be making them a subject, which is different. Oh, yeah, did Portugal ever get that subject of theirs that they went for? Protectorate, yes, they did. Cool, it looks like they got Madagascar, too. Yeah, they did. Cool. Very cool. France and Britain are at war, but Russia's also at war with Britain. My god, Europe's just on fire. They're trying to take Egypt from Turkey. Wait. Are they separately fighting Turkey over Circassia for independence? Oh, so, Turkey is fighting Austria to keep Egypt as a subject, but Egypt is also fighting its own independence war to try to liberate itself from Turkey. Man, Turkey's just not having a good day, I can tell you that much. And now Russia is dealing with the Manchurian uprising. Well, no one said it would be easy. How is the Russian GDP now that we're able to invest? It's actually not doing that well. I don't think we're investing that much. It's more like we're just investing to railways. They have oil, though, do they not? They do. We've actually invested into a couple of rigs. But I'm going to hard invest into a number of those rigs. Because then we can import the oil if our own oil production isn't enough, and it usually never is. Although the oil rig in Texas is finally seeing a good chunk of employment. It's actually gotten the target of a mass migration or two. So that's nice. It at least means we can expedite some production increases here and use the oil very well. At least until the price comes back down and then we stop doing it again. Subsidies are still outrageously high, but the motor industries were above 2 million in that, and now they're at 1.43 million, so it's at least getting better. It's still not good, it's just better. I am not doing a diplomatic play against against the British. That is not happening. We are not doing that. I mean, if we did, I'd just try to steal Canada, but I think it's too pricey. 34. Okay, 34 is not as pricey as I expected. We have too much infamy to do that right now, though, if we ever decide to. I love how the flag's broken for China, and it's just, there's no flag now. It's just not there. It's kind of like when Germany forms. Speaking of which, poor Prussia just can't get it together. We're actually getting Carabinos from Cuba now to Utah. So that's pretty neat. How many Russians do we have now, actually? I know some have assimilated, 2.59. Some have assimilated, so we don't have that many now. What, 4.43 million North Germans, 5 million, over 5 million French at least. Oh yeah, South Germans have to add those guys up for almost another 4 million. Yeah, so the Germans and French have came over here in a number of locations. We've gotten Russians in some areas, and there's obviously Italians, because why not? There's millions of those guys too. From both, actually. Actually, adding up the two Italian population types together, you have almost 10 million pops that are Italian in some way, and that's after being here for many years with a little bit of assimilation. Not a lot, but, you know, technically a little. It's there. Just not in great numbers, as one might hope. Yeah, we're having to shell out 20,000 ducats a week for this livestock ranch, but the average pop here is affluent with modifiers, and GDP of 19 is not bad. We actually could get refrigerated rail cars, which isn't going to remove the laborers, but, you know, it'll reduce the amount we have. In fact, we should do that. Our population numbers are... Our employable numbers are going to drop soon. I forgot about the diesel trains. I totally forgot we have diesel trains now, and we should be using those. You know, because of the whole oil thing. Yeah, I probably shouldn't forget about that now, should I? Also, not sure what we took that caused this slight change. Oh, I know what we took. Right, yeah, we took that state from Mexico, didn't we? Yeah. Literally, we take the state from Mexico, and I'm over here like, God, I don't know where we got these new buildings from. Wherever did they come from? I don't even mean to do that. It just happened. And I feel bad for it now. It's like we were so indifferent to adding them to the Union that we just forgot they were there. And now they have to look at us like we hurt them. You know what? Yeah, rail transportation for all the vineyards now, because there are vineyards only in a few certain areas. And I do mean very few areas. But the one in Texas could especially use it, because we've been trying to get pops there. The unemployment is finally starting to spike here a bit, but there's still, like, sulfur mines and oil rigs that need employment if they, have the qualifications, of course. Maybe they don't. Who's to say? But it looks like oil prices are calming down now. I know it's because of the monopoly as well as pushing it up. That's kind of on purpose. Actually, do they even have a monopoly on oil? They do. Fantastic. That's what you love to see. Actually, you know how I said the motor industries were being a bit of an issue? Well, if we just gave them this thing called a monopoly, it turns out you can increase their price from -13 all the way to -4, which doesn't exactly solve the whole not making a profit issue, but it does reduce the amount of funding we need to be giving them for subsidies. It actually dropped it off by about 600,000. 5 to 600,000, not an exact figure. I'm not too certain there. All I know is that it made it cheaper, and I can worry about it less. And now we can think about conveyor belts. That won't break the bank at all later. No, sir. No, sir. It's gonna completely demolish the bank, but we're not gonna talk about that. So, the biggest purchaser of automobiles is actually the French, who are having quite the economic... What happened here to jump your GDP so hard? You didn't annex someone, did you? I mean, they did annex a bit of India. Oh, yeah, okay. They annexed India, muscled their way in, started making a bunch of tea, and I assume it's being exported and we're buying a good chunk of it. Yeah, okay. So the French muscled their way in and seized this territory. That's pretty much what happened. It's a slave state. How many are slaves? 12% actually. 12 and a half. Oh, is that how colonial slavery works? I haven't really used it, but is colonial slavery just dead slavery, but only in uncolonized or unincorporated states? That's just what it is. That's just it. Okay. If you say so. There are plantations in Null State. No one knows where it is. Masterful work, France. No one can find the company if it exists in the void. Which I suppose is technically true. So, cool. They have so many. How many peasants do you have? 4.29 million times probably, what, 3 to 4 of that, depending on the workforce ratio. So, yeah, they have millions of peasants still. Which, you know, good for them and all that. So they are building automotive industries now with their company, which I kind of don't like because it means we're not going to make Ford automobiles with everything. But we're also at 1911, and I just don't feel like caring that powerfully. Like, I do care about it, but at the same time, it's not worth tearing my hair out over. Oh! I didn't notice that because I didn't have an interest. They're not going to win. It's 92 against 620. But it's neat and will probably cause more instability in Russia. Communist movement, yeah. Unless Russia were to be involved in a major war against Britain that's occupying most of its attention right now, in which case, you know, maybe then the uprising could win. I don't think they'll win, but that's currently happening. They're under a regency as well. Wait, this is a regent? Wait, what happened to the other guy? Revolution canceled. Oh, royal assassination. There it is. So, I guess we know what happened now. You know what? Let's drop taxes to low taxes. Aren't we a benevolent ruler dropping taxes? Someone better say yes. We're benevolent, but we're only benevolent because we threaten everyone to saying yes. That's how it works. And if they don't say yes, they we're not allowed to tell you what the government does, but it's not good. Now, it'll impact some pops who are working on, like, say, the wheat farms where it's not as profitable. Although the certain wheat farms down here just seem to be missing entire employees outright, which I cannot help with. So, good luck. But for other pops, especially if the dividend tax is the issue, it might actually help them go up a fair bit. We'll see. At the very least, it does invite more stability for us, lower taxes and all that. Not that I think we're going to get the standard of living much higher. I'm pretty sure we're hitting an kind of a end point unless we can get more people in the urban centers to drop the service prices, which I don't think is going to work. The arcade technically would help. It's just, again, I'm not sure if it's going to work. Because technically it's going to add more jobs, and they're going to need more people to reach up to that. Oh, the French just had a coup. Neat. I hope they share. Yeah, it looks like that Ingria uprising is losing in Russia. Not too surprising, if we're honest. Most of those revolts are kind of dead on arrival. Like, their fate's already sealed before they even started. Social Democrat. Oh, neat. Oh, yeah, the labor movement's at 31% now. Jesus. I don't think I've seen a labor movement that big before. The reason why we're not getting a lot of the other movements is because of the active slavery debate journal entry. It kind of chokes out a lot of the other movements, I've noticed. Otherwise, we probably would have gained, level 5 healthcare, so we have almost 35 standard living now. Anyway, otherwise we would have probably gained a lot more movement types. But obviously that never happened. Trying to see, I'm pretty sure we just got another Russian revolt. Revolt? No, sorry, Romanian mass migration. The revolts come later, I'm sure. Anyway, time to look at the slaves again because we did the thing where the standard of living went up. So now you just get to watch and see and realize that these slaves would be at 17 standard of living if they weren't being violently treated. Because, yeah, that's just how that works here, I guess. These slaves are already at 17, and it's the tobacco plantation. If we ever got the lector, the factory radio, they'd actually go up to 18, it says. So that's kind of amusing. I think that is roughly about as high as they can get, because their wealth caps out at 12, which I'm very certain it's entirely decided by the business and how well the business is doing. Jeez, I'm really tired today. That's probably not a good sign. So I think with modifiers, the highest standard of living you could get for the slaves is probably around 18. If we assume you're using every modifier, every positive modifier possible with minimum to no pollution impact affecting it. The Know-Nothing Party has decided to form. It's either going to survive or it's going to immediately perish. There will be no middle ground. Survive or die. That is their mission. So how long till the wages start collapsing instead? They're still going up for now. For now. Who's the new head chair? Oh, they're ambitious. Cool. Decree cost reduction. But we've also just lost a bunch of authority. So we just lost our honest work. Oh, no. I guess we could stop suppressing the pro-slavery and abolitionist movements. I've been suppressing them, trying to get other movements to appear, but at this point, it's clear that's not going to happen. They're just never going to appear. So there's no need to keep suppressing them at this point and just suffering negatives from negative authority. Plus, we could try to, I don't know, give another monopoly somewhere instead, just for fun. Really don't want to do, monopoly on livestock ranches. That might help. The game thinks we're at -4 authority for approval. That is such a bug. So we're definitely not at negative authority at all right now. So it's definitely not being truthful with us here. It's lying to the game and then demanding that we deal with it. Which I don't like. But there isn't too much we can do except deal with it. I guess we can research mass propaganda for the authority then. We're starting to run out of research options anyway. We are kind of reaching the end game. We're at 1912 and all that. Not that we're going to make it all the way to 1936. The video would go on for way too long then if we did that. So that can't exactly happen. But hey, maybe by having monopoly of the livestock ranches, they'll start to buy up a bunch of them. If those livestock ranches are profitable, of course. If they are not profitable, they're not going to buy them up at all. But the monopoly will make it a little cheaper for them, and it will actually help their profitability. Or their productivity, at least, since they can make the meat more expensive for their own food industries. Oh, look, I never said it was going to be smart. It's just something they could do. Oh, hey, these iron mines are fully owned by the local workforce now. I don't think they were. Coal's still struggling, though, but... Oh, well. It's struggling, but at a reduced rate, so... Could be worse. Could be better. It's just there. International telephone exchange. Why not? What could go wrong? Man, these pops are being paid a lot of money. Maybe a bit too much money. Someone should check their bank accounts. I think they're being paid from overseas. Oh, yeah, we're back down to the really low profit margin for the Trade Center in New York. The good news is that they know how to import tea. We've been importing silk and luxury clothes, though. But that's okay. They're entitled to their opinions. I'm just going to close the political movement screen at this point and the companies. There's not too much more that's going to change. I am kind of trying to see if we can get the average standard of living to 35 before this ends. Ukrainian people from Russia. Oh. That. Louisiana got 140,000. I'm sorry. Oh, shoot. So, like, they already just migrated. Okay, hello. Well, Texas is definitely going to get those pops that it's been wanting. Actually, already has 100,000 unemployed still. And that's after some expansions to get more people. $124,000, 106,000. We're getting a lot of pops from Russia, which I'm happy about. I do not mind this at all. It's just more pops for us. I mean, it will drop the standard of living, I guess, but oh well. Nothing we can do. I mean, sure, we could close the borders and stop the migrations, but, you know, there's nothing we can do. At the very least, the foreign queue is staying up as well now. Though I'm more so thinking about the private queue. Yeah, that's doing pretty good. Is this at least hiring people? It is, but at a very slow rate, so it's not going to get there for a while. It is trying its best, though, so there's that. This power plant's paying 51 average annual wage. I'm shocked at how expensive that is. 17. The total wage is 1776. That's funny. We actually have a bit of a tax collection issue problem. Unrealized taxes. At least in New York. I don't know if that's everywhere. Okay, that is kind of everywhere due to expensive taste, so it is tax waste. But we can expand the one in New York a little at least. You trade Nexus? You are. Would love to capture another skyscraper from someone else, but I think only various great powers will have built those, and we're not exactly trying to conquer them now, are we? The Forbidden City. Minus 50% throughput bonus for defaulting on loans. Jeez. At least you get some legitimacy still, despite not having any money for it. If that makes sense. We might not hit 35 standard of living at this rate just because of all the migrations constantly fluctuating in new pops. Speaking of which, Russians are heading to Washington, the state. 192,000 pops. Russia is just like slowly emptying to us now after getting such a big population boom. But that's good for us because it's the main source of pops. Otherwise, we just don't go anywhere. We would just sit here the whole time. I'll give out more of these, why not? Get more of those peasants employed. I mean, we've made a good amount of progress for the late game area, considering how much slower it gets. Oil's expensive, iron's expensive. Support the Turkish workers. Okay, let's... I almost just want to spam the buildings at this point and see if someone just kind of comes over to work it anyway. They might import slaves for some of them, but Africa's almost completely colonized now, so the number of sources for slaves is almost non-existent at this point. Because remember, that's kind of where they all come from, is the decentralized territories. Another revolution in Japan that's very small. Not much of a threat. Oh, they've refilled the peasant pool over here at least. So that's nice of them. I built 3 of those. Progress towards the radio. Though we might not make it to the radio in time. God, we're running slavery and everything. We're still at 2 billion GDP and the game just lets us do this. I mean, the yeoman farmers aren't powerful, so we haven't... Oh, the rivalry thing. Oh, well. So we haven't technically maxed out the productivity potential of our plantations. But for sugar to be at minus 36% in Alabama, and it's paying an average annual wage of 43, and the productivity is at 32 a year, it's still pretty good. We just enslaved a lot of people to make it happen. But that's beside the point. It's not important. Probably. I mean, look at them. They're okay. They're almost middling if they weren't suffering from violent treatment, which should have been outlawed. Oh man, these subjects just love to revolt. The Netherlands is involved now. It says there's over 1,000 involved in this. Is that because of Austria? It's because of Austria, yeah. Well, 2 can play at the mobilization game. So we're gonna go ahead and beat these guys down here. And then some of these don't even have conscripts ready, and they already have over 100. I imagine a lot of them are going to come over to try to free Mexico itself. Costa Rica is a protectorate, yes. I actually forgot that it was. I guess since the Mexicans are the one initiating this now, we can knock them down. Technically, the Brazilians are still involved. But support independence is what, partially from Mexico, so we could probably choke that down. I know, it's hard to say. Their fervor's so high that it's kind of overriding a lot of it. I mean, the infamy and poor relations don't help either, but, you know, oh well. I don't know, maybe we seize Jalisco then? Which apparently is just full of banana production. Is that just what this place is? It's just bananas? And coffee. Bananas and coffee. Oh, see, they're not even using the best production methods for it. How could they? Of course we've got to seize it then. As our little punishment. We could seize this state too, maybe, now that it has any workers. Oh, a new Hungarian uprising. Cool. Now let's focus on beating Mexico down. Our subjects can hold the other areas till we're done. That'd be too much infamy. I'm trying to not end this on a terrible note, after all. Yep. Well, we should be fine. I think a lot of their troops are still using the previous infantry model. If some of them are on line infantry still. The Spanish have some line infantry. I don't even know if they've managed to scrounge up enough funding, so... While they're going to have superiority of numbers, we're going to have more qualified units overall. Which is arguably better. Oh, the French and the British are going to war again, so that's not really anything new, actually. This is definitely not going to be good for the standard of living, though. You know, war and all that. Probably should have annexed Costa Rica, too, just to get them out of the way, but... I don't know, they weren't really on my mind to begin with. Oh, the Great Eastern Crisis has started in Turkey, so, yeah, they get to have fun with that. They might stay together, they might fall apart. It remains to be seen. We will not find out. But it is something that happened, at least, that we can point to. Well, I'm not surprised that we're having a sudden mass deficit. We are still doing a lot of subsidies, and we also are in a war now. Tends to do that. Are they the... Oh! Beijing has become recognized and is now a great power. Neat. Have fun with that. Sorry, is that the Confederation of the Rhine? Oh, I didn't even realize the Confederation of the Rhine had been created. I actually hadn't even realized it. Huh. Neat. Hungarians from Hungary. Very nice. Is that... No, it's not. Oh, there's the Hungarians. Almost all of them are located... Or, sorry, over 4 of them are located in Utah. Although that might change with the migrations that are happening. There are now almost 6 million Russians here, and 2.2 million are in just Washington on their own. Which means there are now a lot of peasants to employ again here. Which is kind of nice. Also kind of sucks, it's a lot of open jobs. They're not taking any of them, but... Oh well. It's a bit of a divergent thought process there for a moment. How many slaves are on the subsistence farms? None? I see, I see. War-wise, we're fine. Costa Rica's done. Mexico's being beaten down. Brazil's dying. The only other potential issue is the Netherlands, but they're probably an easy target to land in. Oh, you know, if our generals actually could general, then this would probably get over a lot faster. Oh well. Oldenburg back down against Prussia. Oh, this is definitely a very on-fire world. I like to think we somehow caused the instability for no apparent reason. Just, you know, we somehow did it. Even if no one can prove it. So let's max these out, and we'll actually build up New England a little, because it's got basically nothing going for it. Same with these little states that tend to be overlooked. Just a bit more construction for no reason. Because of all the migrations we're getting. Okay. Maybe stop them from joining up there. I would say, even though we're not going to hit 35 standard of living from the looks of it because of all the migrations, the fact we got it well over 30 with a bunch of modifiers while running slavery is nice. Because do keep in mind about 6.3% of our population is enslaved, and another 4.8% of them are peasants. Although the peasants are, in some cases, enjoying much better lives, some of them are enjoying the same life as the slaves themselves, so... Not really doing a whole lot better there in some areas. Hey, look at that. Prosperous peasants, even if it's temporary. Oh, they're making money. That's only with modifiers, mind you. But they do have a base wealth of 20, so that's cool. Oh. Looks like they're trying to naval invade us now as a way to win now that Mexico's been forced to surrender. I also just realized those states we took from Mexico, I never set them up to incorporate. Which is a shame, because I think at least one of them would have incorporated by now if I had remembered to do that. It's not a big loss, it's just kind of one of those things that you didn't really think about until now. In the grand scheme of it all, it's not that important, but it's just kind of like, I could have done that too. Could have been a little more ahead. Just a little bit. Okay, that's just Astro Group people. Oh, boy. I remember when the pipeline events were just so bad that you never did them because it was just spending money for infrastructure. Now it's, oh, this is Arkansas, not Alabama. It's way over here. But now they do actually function to actually permanently improve production there by 20% for oil, which is nice. Alrighty, there we go. War's over. 2.1 billion GDP. Our standard of living is still slowly slipping. We could actually even just raise taxes back up to cover the deficit that we're in. But it's definitely because our population is growing at an ever faster rate, thanks to constant mass migrations. Speaking of which, another one just hits. As you can see, Finland has actually, it peaked at 3.39 million and it's dropped pretty hard. The Russian one's just broken. A lot of the pop graphs are kind of broken, to be honest, so it'd be difficult to tell what's actually happened to them. Yeah, so they, Chinese are in bankruptcy, it looks like. They're in default, heading towards bankruptcy. Their economy is collapsing from it. So, yeah, have fun with that. Might be why our people aren't really investing into them at all. Because they'd be investing into a black hole. God, they're just building so many steel mills here. I mean, I guess that's fine. We need the steel, but they're just building so many. Or so I feel like. Yeah, if oil came down, the motor industries would probably be doing better. Although more demand for motors would help too. Engineers now make up the third largest population group. I love it. We actually have almost more of the machinists than engineers, which is pretty cool. Afro-American is somehow our third largest pop group still, despite everything. Which I do think is neat. The mass migrations never end. They never die. Trying to debate on what to do next here. I mean, we did get the assembly lines, but we hadn't really gotten into actually using them as the thing. It was just kind of that next stage we'd eventually step to once we needed it. But we're also kind of reaching our endpoints to where it's like, well, what do we do now? You know what? Why don't we just be a little chaotic and switch them all over? Obviously, that's a dumb idea without actually having the power for it. Because we should have... I'll be honest with you, I expected more electrical shortages than that. It did increase our peasant pop numbers by a fair margin. But it is dropping the labor numbers. Yeah, I expected that to be a lot higher than it ended up being. Huh. Oh well. Yeah, most of those are the targets here. It's Georgia and South Dakota. South Dakota, there it is. That kind of helps at least. Maine. I think you need a lot more than 5 in New York, mind you, but... You know, I'm not really paying attention there, so what do I know? I wasn't going to do it at first because, you know, the electrical infrastructure isn't set up to appropriately handle it. But then I just thought, what the hell, why not do it anyway? Especially if we're going to get near to our end point soon for this run. Might as well see what it looks like before we can it completely. All those high electrical prices do make it more expensive to run those businesses. The turn of the century. Oh, did we actually get Belle Epoque to start? Do we actually have 40 urban centers here? We do. Because they built a bunch of electric industries here. Okay. I did not expect that. Washington actually has over 2 million people. Huh. Well, what do you know? Definitely not something I was expecting. Over 300 million peasants and unemployed now. The glassworks never fully recovered, but I think that's because their average annual wage is almost 40. Could raise taxes to cover the deficit and also maybe stop some construction. But that's okay. It's fine. Actually, automatic power looms we're still not using because they spike the electrical needs a lot. And obviously, it's not set up for that much pressure at the moment. I gotta make a little gap for the price at least. Just a little. Just a little. Oh, wow, the Democratic Party might win this election. Lots of momentum behind them. So we should now... We almost have more machinists than we do laborers. It didn't quite drop as much as I thought it would. But it could be because they're unemployed and still classified as laborers. Which would make sense. Would make sense. Alright, there we go. That'll drop the electricity prices. It should make things a little more stable now. As they are still unable to find jobs. Or people who want to work them, I should say. Two very different things. Now you're going to tell me if I switch off, it'll actually be more expensive. I thought so. I thought so. Oh, yeah, we could definitely get it. Now, let's see. What happens if I were to turn off the... Yeah, see how it's like it was telling me before that we'd lose a lot of weekly balance if we switched to rail log carts. And now we did the switch to the rail log carts. And this is actually doing much better with the rail log carts instead of road carts. Because it's calculating things like how the increased employment would lead to less goods consumption and less production initially because you don't have those workers. So it messes with things now and then. Yankee becomes obsessed with fine art. I mean, we're about to end this soon, so I kind of want to say why not, but... I mean, sure, let's just see how much fine art moves. Immediately, 75% base price. That is going to hurt other luxury items, but we could just sell those, so, you know. It works out. Except for maybe the assembly line, that's a lot of electricity. In a short amount of time. Lot of electricity. We're back into debt again, but that's fine at this point. We now have more machinists than laborers. Fantastic. We also now have more farmers than slaves. Slaves now make up less than 6% of the population, but there are now more than 10 million slaves in the game. And remember, we can get up to 3/4 of them to be workers compared to only 31% of farmers. So, despite being less than 6% of the population, their workforce is equivalent to... It's more than our shopkeepers, but less than our engineers. Which sounds concerning to say out loud. Huh. Definitely concerning. No, they're still at war. Okay. Gotta imagine if these sugar prices are at base price instead of -37 nationally right now. It'd be very profitable, that's for sure. Very profitable indeed. I just saw the notifications list. Turkey had a coup while it's at war. How fun. Oh, Prussia's being game ruined by Austria. They're just fully occupied now, and it looks like they're going to try to make Belgium a protectorate. Although, if Prussia capitulates fast enough, they're going to lose whatever potential land connection for it. It looks like that'll be what'll happen. Our per capita has dropped because we suddenly have a lot of unemployed pops and more peasants. Relative to when it was before. But at least the Art Academy's doing well. You know, they needed it. They needed something good in their life. Average wage is now at 18.29, so it is still growing. Our bureaucrats are wealthy even without any of the bonuses. It's so nice. So, what is the best slave pop doing at this point? I assume 17 is the cap we're looking at. Yeah, unless you get the radios going, 17 looks like it's the cap there. Roughly, give or take. Which you could get, but yeah. Have to make radios, which we aren't making at the moment, which we can make, though. I just need to switch radio production over. The problem is, most of the radios are in the District of Columbia, which does not have enough power. Because, of course, it doesn't. It very much does not have enough power. Like, you're going to need to build a good 35 power plants to get it up there. But that wouldn't even get it all the way. That would just be enough to make it run fine. But we could go ahead and turn the electors on now because it consumes radios to make tobacco while also improving their lives there and making the job less terrible to work at, I guess. Gonna let a week tick by as well just to check the pricing difference now that... Yeah, because like 100 radios for 504 tobacco, that's pretty good. Pretty good. And yeah, the slaves are now at 18 standard of living, which I do believe is about the highest you can get it, because the prestige goods consumption one, that's kind of based on their base wealth, I believe. And the bonus maximum's at 20, it's at 19%, so I don't think it's going to hit +3. I could be wrong, but I don't think it's going to hit +3 from where it's at. Oh, they're just part of the abolitionist movement, not the slave. Oh, okay, I see. That explains a few things. Suppose that is a very similar movement if you think about it. You know, they need like a little top hat now. They're at middling standard of living. It should be fine. What do you mean it's going wrong and everything's bad? I don't understand at all. He says, fully knowing better. Sorry, I'm trying to find different parts of the government here, and I can't seem to find any of the government. The government's just gone. Government ceased to exist. Suppose to cap it off, we might as well just switch over to arcades. Just look at the chaos that unfolds. The potential chaos that unfolds. Honestly, it could just be fine. Because, yeah, the game was telling me it wouldn't be profitable under its predicted weekly balance, but not saying it is. So, yeah, things tend to be a little lopsided and not very informative as one would hope. Ugh. Millions of employable pops, and you've got nothing to show for it. Because there's no one here. Cinema has no commercial future. That's what a lot of them said. Boy, were they proven wrong. But only many, many years later. But yeah, the biggest issue right now is just service prices across the whole entire U.S. are pretty high. But the employment at the urban centers is pretty low, so there's just kind of struggling to employ people. Indiana has over 300,000 unemployed. My goodness. Well, hopefully they can find a job at least. South Germans from Kansas. Oh no, it's starting again. The great migration waves are coming. Well, our laborers have dropped all the way to 17.5% now at that additional switch in the urban centers. I don't think you could get it that much lower because we've implemented almost every automation system. I said almost. Apparently, we didn't implement it at the automotive plants. New York and Tennessee now have electricity shortages. That is very unsurprising, if I may be honest. So you would definitely have to build those up. The one in Iowa is doing fine, but the price is pretty up there now. Did drop us another 1.3% or so in laborers, so you can get it low and get a lot of them replaced by machinists. Maybe you could get enough engineers if you had more engineer jobs and less clerk jobs, but, you know, oh well. Or, you know, use synthetic plants, get less... we have so few, though, it's not really worth it. There's the textile mill, which technically has a lot of employable pops that could switch around. It is giving us a very bad information pamphlet on that, though. Like a very bad information pamphlet on it. Yeah, figures. They're all gonna struggle with it now. Veracruz, Mexico. Although I don't know if a few of those would be enough. Ah, yeah, it would help. The angry face for half a second, Jesus. Well, we got a lot of peasants and unemployed now, so yay, more construction. Whoa. The steam omnibus. We don't need to collect consumption taxes on those. I mean, they would be extremely profitable for consumption taxes, as would services, so definitely something you could look into. This might increase wages more. Normal wages actually dropped, so that's not too surprising. Things got fluctuated pretty hard there. Oh, this is actually not making enough money now. I mean, it's probably a lot of the inputs, but it's also the wages are ridiculously high. So it's kind of, it's starting to reach that point where we'd have to subsidize it, but I don't think that's the path we want to go down here. How's the trade center doing? It's profitable, at least. Almost doesn't need the subventions. How nice. Yeah, we started this episode with less than 18,000 trade capacity. I have not touched building any trade centers at all. We are now looking at just over 41,000 trade capacity with almost 38,000 in use. Biggest imports being tea, oil, silk, and coffee, while we export engines, glass, groceries, and coal. With the coal being because we can't use it as effectively now, so we sell it to the people who don't have oil. Or at least can't use oil effectively, I guess. Oh yeah, the glass workshops are at least doing better. That and the motor industries, their deficits have been coming down. It's still really bad. It's just less bad now. It's more manageable kind of bad. Our GDP is actually stalling out as well, thanks to our extremely weird policies, which is fine. We're just kind of messing around with it at this point to see how low we can get the labor account here. And keep in mind, some of them are slaves instead of laborers. So, there's also that. I think the logging camps have just removed them almost completely. You would need to use chainsaws to remove them completely, but I'm actually curious, would it actually become more unprofitable? It does. But I would say it'd be more profitable to switch back now. And oil is expensive. If you drop the price of oil, it would actually be fine. But it does fully eliminate the laborers / slaves from logging camps. I guess at this point, switch over the rail transportation for all the plantations. We're just gonna see what happens. I'm not saying this is a good idea because stuff's gonna get a little messed up. You have all those slaves that suddenly don't have a job too now, which could be messy. I just watched unemployment jump up by 1.5 million. Agriculture is literally full of slaves. So much so that building up anything is just going to make unemployed slaves, and I don't even want to have to track that. It won't end well, I'm sure. Really, we're just seeing how low we can get the labor numbers there. Clerk, the engineers almost at 14. So that's pretty good. Technically, building construction sites is going to give us some more laborers. But, oh well. There are slaves too, you know. Oh, the railroad boom. I wonder... That one took a long time to grab now, didn't it? But yeah, now they're building up all the railroad industries that would be needed to correct the sudden shortage that we have caused in a very, very short amount of time. But hopefully some of those unemployed would just join up in the urban centers, presuming the urban centers aren't screaming it from a lack of popularity. Popularity? Profitability, but I guess popularity fits the bill too. In a very loose way. At least our standard of living's been going between 34 and 35, so it's not bad. We're just being very weird with how we handle it. Wow, that is a lot of queued up construction from France. And it's just to expand a bunch of our trade centers. I mean, I guess our trade capacity has always stayed roughly equal in the amount that we're using, the amount that we're not. We are, what? Oh, we're at 245. We're actually further along than I thought. We're at 1919 as well. We are making a profit. We're not using all that construction we just built because the investment pool is technically dying. We're over 2 million reinvestment. Well, a bunch of that is owned by regular workers, so... Yeah, definitely a weird time. I've gotten rid of most of the shortages already, though. Which is good. Russian mass migration to Oklahoma. Yes, because we always need more pops, evidently. Although, yeah, some of these are incredibly high on the transportation costs. It's kind of crazy. That's with all these railroads. Like, goodness. Well, just seeing a bunch of wealthy people working on a railroad doesn't even feel right. And yet, it's happening. Absolutely fantastic. Hey, 14% engineers now. Laborers actually went back up a bit, but that's fine. I expected it to. But it just goes to show you there's still a lot of automation you can do. And technically, we have a bunch of jobs open that'll never be fulfilled because what's happening is the urban centers are now in a position where it needs services to be expensive to be profitable to hire people. But it can't afford that. Like the urban center in New York literally cannot afford to hire more people because just trying to pay their wages is greatly outpacing the input cost of everything else. They would need to be subsidized going forward, but doing that for a bunch of them would probably crash prices everywhere. That being said, with services acting as 24% of the largest expenditure for pops across the board, being able to employ a bunch of them would help, although there's not even enough unemployed. So what would it look like, actually, if we suddenly just subsidize them all? And then, let's say, raise taxes to fund it. I assume it's going to look good initially and then start cracking down and collapsing. Yeah, it's going to start getting red real fast, isn't it? Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's going to get red real fast. But let's just see what happens. Because everyone's taxes did go up, which is obviously not great. But if the services go down in price, it might help some of them. It might not help all of them because it does depend on how much money they just suddenly lost relative to a shift in their expenditure. It's like these clerks in New York are actually seeing a deaccelerant. It's actually getting worse for them because the normal wage is going down now. Probably because more people are being employed at the urban center. And the urban center's wage, yeah, like 14 for laborers, 17 for the machinists, is technically worse. That did reduce our laborer numbers, though, to where there's more engineers than laborers. But it also spiked the clerics and shopkeepers. Which also, something to note, it's taking people from other jobs, so our economy is actually not going to benefit too well from this. Because now all these pops are suddenly working a completely different job, and we are going into a huge deficit really fast. I'm wondering, some of these pops might not even stay on their standard of living. They may actually drop because... Yeah, so while we could fund the urban centers, the problem is that a bunch of pops will leave the jobs that are giving them good dividends to start working there instead, and it will just slowly railroad itself downward. Plus, all of our government admin workers will actually start to lose standard of living because the wage will drop. Because they're all starting to work a quote-unquote worse wage. So it's arguably better to not do that and just let these fail. So that's just a neat little experiment I wanted to do. So we're almost at 1920. We're almost there. We just gotta hold out for 2 more months. Not even 2 more months now. Well, these guys in the Texas oil rigs. Very rich. Very, very rich. And what about our company owners? I mean, even the one run by the French is doing very well. Ford Motor is actually doing so well, the shopkeepers are opulent with modifiers. I have to say with modifiers because without it, they're only lavish, but lavish is still pretty good. So, with that, we are... Oh, wow. You know what? It's a good thing that I was making 1920 the end point because the Austrian flu has just broken out in Austria. What? With that said, thank you all for watching. This was a very fun, enjoyable little Let's Play. I'm not too certain as to how effective having slavery active was, but each sugar plantation making an extra 40 sugar. Yeah, that's a lot, because it's 80 without it, 120 with the production methods we have. A 50% increase in output without even adding any more input. You just really spike your mortality for those working here, so they don't get to have fun. But yeah, I hope you all had a very enjoyable time watching this as much as I had in playing it. The only other thing I want to do is just look at how many automobiles are being bought for slaves now. 54, so it's actually gone down. Cool. All right. Thank you all. I hope you had a great time, and I will see you next time.